Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has Sharingan and Ruby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by TheSublimeFaction and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. The pain, it was unbearable. His body, his arms, legs, shoulder, neck, and everything else felt like it was on fire. It felt as if the weight of the world was crashing down on him, holding him down on the soft earth that he was on, denying him the chance to move. The blonde-haired male tried to move, desperately, but he was denied the chance to do so. Taking a moment to catch his breath, the man started to think back, trying to gather information on where he was, what was happening, and more importantly, who the hell he was. His mind, no matter what he tried to do, was drawing up a blank on everything. His name, his age, what had happened to lead him to feeling so much pain, and where he was, just did not want to register in his brain. Opening his eyes, the blonde male was awarded the chance to see, but it made no difference as he looked around, and saw nothing but pitch black, almost like he was in an empty void of nothingness. Trying to will his body to move, nothing happened but a finger twitch, and the man sighed as he knew it'd be a little bit until he got feeling in his body again. Taking a second to think, the man frowned, focusing all of his attention on his current situation, and why he was in the void, and grinned as memories slowly, but surely, started to come back to him. He was in a war of some sorts, that much was sure, but why? There was a woman, with long white hair, and horns, that was saying something about giving up. The blonde about threw up as a wave of nausea hit him all at once, his brain slowly remembering more and more of certain bits and pieces. He was in a war against a woman named Kaguya, with his friend Sasuke, and the woman, Kaguya, was trying to kill him. Then that's when it hit him, nausea, pain, fatigue, every type of feeling, as his brain remembered everything. His name was Naruto Uzumaki, and he was just in a war against Kaguya Otsutsuki, who was trying to place everyone in an infinite screamy, so she could trap them, and take back the chakra that she believed to be hers. The war had been gruesome, and many people had died, even a few had died right in Naruto's arms, and at that moment, he felt like throwing up. He had been on the island turtle with Killer Bee, so he could learn how to control the Nine Tails. Killer Bee had helped him, and one of the assets of controlling the Nine Tails was negative emotion sensing, and he felt lots of it, almost too much for it to be a coincidence like Killer Bee had told him it was, and he had left, and learned the elemental nations was in war, so he decided to fight, instead of hiding like a coward, and Killer Bee had came along. They had joined the war, after a small fight with the Raikage and the Hokage, and were allowed to pass, and a lot had happened. Niji had died, the masked man was revealed to be Obito Uchiha, the 10 Tails had been revived, Madara, the 4 Hokage, and many other strong shinobi had been revived, and everything went to hell. Sasuke, someone Naruto was honestly not expecting to show up for the war had came, declared he was going to be Hokage, and help Naruto royally kick Obito's ass, but Madara became the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, and they had died, and met the Sage of Six Paths, Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Hagoromo had given Naruto and Sasuke his power, with Naruto gaining the Sage's Senjutsu, while Sasuke gained the Rinnegan. Together, they had faced off against Madara, more powerful, and it worked as they had managed to beat him, but that's when she showed up. Kaguya Otsutsuki, the progenitor of chakra, and the woman who ate the Shinju fruit, first wielding the 10 Gods tree power. They had fought, but unlike Madara and Obito, this woman was on a whole other level. She was like a god compared to the two, and it had taken everything in their power to try to defeat her, but in the end, it had worked. Naruto, alongside Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi were able to do it. They had managed to corner the rabbit goddess, and seal her away, but at a price. Naruto's body had moved on its own when he saw Kaguya about to use the all-killing Ashbone on Sasuke from behind, and even though they were able to seal her away, it had been at a cost, as Naruto had died. The battle was hard, Naruto knew that much, and allowing his eyes to shift over to Sasuke, the two made eye contact and there was a silent agreement between the two. One of them was going to distract her with something she couldn't dodge, while the other one snuck up behind her, even though it didn't matter because of her Byakugan, and hold her down long enough while the other one came by and finished off the seal to seal her away. Looking from the corner of his eye, Naruto saw that Kakashi still had his Susanoo activated, thanks to Obito allowing him to use it after his death, and Sakura seemed to be gaining elevation on the high mountain they were on. Essentially, Kaguya was trapped on all sides, but that didn't matter to the godlike woman. She would take back her chakra, and start by killing the 4 nuisances in front of her. She was tired, which was a shock to her, as she had never truly felt tired in her life, but looking at the 2 reincarnations of her grandchildren, she could easily say she was faring better than the 2 boys who were gasping for air like it was going out of business. Go! Sasuke closed both of his eyes, knowing his attack wouldn't work, but might give Naruto, who had come up with the dumbest jutsu and idea ever, time to get ready. With a snap of his eye, one of his Mangekyou Sharingan abilities came to life, Amaterasu, and started to burn the white-haired goddess, who shrugged it off like it was nothing, but activated her Byakugan as Naruto created a field of clones, then called out his attack, leaving a field of smoke. Sexy Jutsu, Reverse Harem Jutsu. To say the people on the battlefield were shocked would be an understatement, wondering why Naruto would use an attack like that on someone so godlike. But when all the clones save one popped, Sakura passed out as Naruto landed a punch on Kaguya, only for Sasuke to appear right next to him. Reaching their hands forward to try and seal the woman away, Kaguya quickly disappeared into her pocket dimension, not allowing the boys a chance to touch her, as that's all it would take for her to lose and be sealed away again. Damn it! I thought we had her this time. Naruto growled in frustration, and started to look around, knowing her body could come from anywhere, to try and kill either one of them, which would be simple because all she had to do was kill either one of them, and it would be impossible to seal her away. Sasuke! You see anything? Sasuke shook his head with a frown, and started to look around, making sure the rabbit goddess wasn't going to appear anywhere, but he didn't see nothing, and that started to worry him. Kaguya was fast, and could strike at a moment's notice, and Naruto would be defenseless to get out of the way. Sasuke, he wasn't worried about himself, he had his Rinnegan ability, which was more so an over-glorified substitution jutsu that allowed him to switch with objects in a flash. Naruto, keep your eyes open and don't let your guard down. Naruto growled as he turned to Sasuke, sending him a glare. I know that bastard, worry about yourself Tobeo. Sasuke said nothing as he looked back. It had been almost a minute, and Kaguya still hadn't shown herself. This confused him. Did she just plan to leave the four of them in this alternate dimension? So that way she could take everyone's chakra then come back and finish them off when she was even more powerful. Naruto wasn't liking this at all, he just wanted to defeat Kaguya, go home, and become Hokage. But this woman, this rabbit goddess turned rabbit demon, was standing in his way. He planned to seal her away, no matter what. This was his legacy that Erosenin had left him, that his father left him, and he wasn't going to let them down, no matter what. Turning towards Sasuke, Naruto's eyes widened as he saw Kaguya's hands slowly reaching out from her pocket dimension, making sure she made no sound, as a bone started to leave her body. The all-killing ash bone was by far the most devastating move in the history of the shinobi world. One touch from it, and you're dead. Seeing the blow, and knowing what would happen, about to be released, Naruto's body unconsciously moved, and pushed Sasuke out of the way right once the technique was released, hitting Naruto square in the stomach. Naruto, knowing this to be their one chance, gripped Kaguya's arm with all the strength he had, and looked over to the stunned Sasuke. As Sasuke now. Sasuke wasted no time, moving as quickly as he could, which wasn't that fast as he was still on one of Naruto's truth-seeking orbs, and placed his hand against her arm, just like Naruto, and with a quick look between the two one-time friends turned enemies turned friends, Naruto and Sasuke sealed away Kaguya for good. Planetary devastation. Seal a black orb-like object appeared around Kaguya, lifting her up in the sky, while also pulling chunks of earth towards her, while she was defenseless to do anything but be sealed away again, this time for good. Sasuke quickly turned his eyes towards Naruto, a mad and unforgiving look on his face as he saw his friend's stomach slowly starting to deteriorate. Why? Why did you take the hit for me? Naruto fell forward, and Sasuke was quick to catch him as Sakura and Kakashi came running over, having seen the entire thing unfold. Kakashi, feeling ashamed, could only curse himself for not having the Mangekyou Sharingan anymore, while Sakura started to openly wail for her friend. What's with that look, bastard, my body it just moved on its own. Sasuke glared at Naruto, hating the fact that he was bring up his words from the wave mission so many years ago. His chest, it felt like it was on fire, and Sasuke just wanted to scream at Naruto, call him an idiot, and thank him at the same time. Hee, it's funny Kaka-sensei, I can see Ka-chan and Obito and that girl Rin you showed me a picture of one time. Naruto reached out, almost like he was reaching for someone, and Kakashi smiled as he looked up, knowing Obito and Kushina were waiting for Naruto on the other side. And I see Nagato and Itachi. Sasuke's head snapped up as he looked to Naruto while the dying blonde kept on talking. They're waiting for me too, I guess. Naruto smiled as he looked over at Sasuke, the deterioration becoming more and more visible. The only reason he hadn't died yet was because of the one half of the 9 tails inside of him, keeping him alive by healing the damage that was happening as fast as he could. As Sasuke, you said you wanted to be Hokage, why? Sasuke looked to Naruto, knowing what he was truly asking about, as they had a certain level of respect. They had fought with each other, so they knew what they were both truly thinking, and Naruto wanted to hear it for himself. You know why, loser, to change the world so what happened to my family never happens again. I'll start a revolution, and bring forth the age of the Uchiha clan. And before Sasuke could say any more, he was cut off as Naruto started to laugh, causing Sasuke to glare at him. Why, you fool, don't you see it? We're your family, the leaf is your family. We've done it, Sasuke, we've finally created peace. This world there will be no more fighting, no more death, because of you and me, bastard. Sasuke shook his head. Even on his deathbed Naruto was more worried about peace, and how others felt before himself. Become Hokage for me. Slowly, Naruto's eyes started to close, causing Sakura to cry more into Kakashi's vest, while Sasuke watched, with his Sharingan on, as the life was leaving the one person to never turn their back on him. It's tea time to go home. As Sasuke, I believed in you until the end, and I still believe in you now for a final time. Naruto's hand raised, and using the last bit of strength he had, Naruto flicked Sasuke right between the eyes, and with that, the legendary Naruto Uzumaki, was dead. He couldn't believe it, he was dead. It just felt so surreal, knowing everything he had done, from training, to practicing, to all the missions, to all the people he had fought, and it all ended with him dying. Peace, hopefully, had come, at the price of his own life. Deciding to see who had come to visit him in Limbo, as Naruto could remember Kakashi telling him the story of how he died and met his father when he came here. Naruto pushed every ounce of strength into his arms, and sat up with a sigh. Looking around the black void he was in, Naruto saw nothing that showed him which way to go, no sign that said if you're dead, come this way, and no light to follow like people said there would be. Just emptiness. With a gut feeling telling him to head southeast from his spot, Naruto shakily got up from his spot, and cracked his back, which sent a feeling of relief through him. Deciding to follow his gut feeling, Naruto started to head off, his mind racing with thoughts. Now that he was dead, he was surprised. He had thought that dying would make him feel horrible, that he'd want to bawl his eyes out, curse Kaguya for killing him, and find a way to be brought back to life, yet, now that he was dead he felt relieved. It was euphoric. As he walked with his head held high, and a smile on his face. There was no pressure on his shoulders, no one standing over his shoulder, telling him he needed to fight this person, or he needed to do this, or that. His entire life was nothing but people telling him to do stuff, people taking advantage of his nindo, his promise to never break a promise and never go back on his word, and making him feel guilty for their own selfish needs. He no longer had the weight of being the child of prophecy on his shoulders. He no longer felt like he was supposed to bend to a person's every whim, do what they asked with a fake smile on his face, and then complete it to not even get a thank you. Honestly, being dead felt wonderful because he could now be him. He could be Naruto Uzumaki. Hopefully, now that he was dead, he would be able to spend his time in the afterlife, with his mother, father, godfather, his dead friends, and all the other people he had lost during his life. He would be able to sit down with them, eat a heavenly bowl of ramen, and just talk about how good it felt now that he didn't have the burden of personal responsibilities like those of the mortal plane. To sit down with Jiraiya, his mother, his father, the Sandaime, and Obito felt great right now. He couldn't wait, and the feeling of actually being with his family was slowly making him tear up. This moment, besides the whole dead thing, was something he had been waiting for all his life, and hopefully it was going to happen soon. All he needed to do was find whoever it was that was waiting for him in Limbo, to escort him towards the afterlife, and everything would be fine. Seeing a small, flickering light up in the distance, Naruto grinned as he ran forward, running at his top speed to get to whoever was waiting for him. Arriving at the small campfire, Naruto looked around and frowned as there was no one there, so he decided to take a seat on one of the two logs in the clearing that was right in front of the fireplace, and rested in cheek on his palm, content with waiting for a little bit longer. Though if Naruto was actually paying attention to his senses, he would have felt a man sneaking up right behind him. But because he wasn't paying attention to his senses, Naruto was completely oblivious to the hand that phased right through his head, until a finger that shouldn't have been there phased through his nose, causing the blonde to jump. Turning around with a glare, Naruto was shocked to see Obito as a kid. Naruto's mouth was wide open as Obito laughed, hunched over, and pointing towards the blonde who could only stare in shock. Why, you should see the look on your face. Obito broke out laughing again, but stopped prematurely as Naruto's fist came down on his head, causing the older, yet younger-looking dead man to drop to the ground, clutching the bump that was already forming on his head. That's not funny to Bayo. Naruto glared at Obito, making him shrink in his spot, and chuckle nervously as the younger, but still older-looking male, deciding to get on with the business. Taking a seat on the log next to Naruto, Obito sighed. So you've died. Naruto looked at Obito with a dry look, not amused with how he was treating this, but also wondering why it was Obito who had come to visit him. Obito, knowing it was time to be serious, stopped being a kid, and grew into the Obito that Naruto knew, scarred face and everything. It really is unfortunate that you've passed on, Naruto. I had such high hopes for you. I truly believed you were the one to become Hokage. Naruto sighed, knowing he was right, but thinking about it, Naruto smiled with a shrug. You know, everyone was always saying that. They had such high hopes for me, they expected me to do this and that, they thought I was the child of prophecy, and so much more, but now that I'm dead I just don't care. Obito looked over to Naruto in shock, wondering what he meant. When I first decided I wanted to be Hokage, I was 6 years old, and only said that because I wanted to make Hokage Gigi proud of me. Gigi had talked to me about the will of fire for the first time, and what it meant to be part of the family of Konoha, and when I asked how I could take care of my family, he replied with why not train to become Hokage, Naruto-kun, and everyone will respect you because you keep them safe at the time. I thought that was the best idea ever, and so I did what Gigi said. Naruto rubbed his forehead and he stared into the fire, finally being able to release the pent-up feelings he had. But as I grew older, I started to realize I didn't want to be Hokage. Of course, I wanted to be a legendary ninja like Kakashi-sensei and Tusan. But when I learned that when you're Hokage you can't take missions, I started to really rethink myself. But by then, everyone had already set such high expectations for me that I couldn't let them down like that, and continued doing what everyone asked of me. Obito nodded along, looking into the fire, and feeling sympathy for Naruto. No matter what, I know your parents are still proud of you, Naruto. Naruto grinned and looked towards Obito, wondering why he had come, and not his mom, or the Sandaime, or even Jiraiya. Obito, why did you come and greet me, and not my mom, or dad, or Ero-sennin? Obito grinned, knowing that what he was about to say was going to shock the younger male. Well, there's a reason for that. Naruto, can I ask you something? Naruto sent Obito a questioning look, and nodded hesitantly, allowing Obito to continue. What was your true dream? If not Hokage? Then what did you truly wish for, Naruto? Naruto looked into the fire, his eyes a perfect mirror for the flames that consumed the black void they were in. Naruto frowned. What was his true dream? He had been deluding himself for so long, he didn't even know what he truly wanted. Who was he really? He had worn a mask of happiness for so long so no one saw his pain, his weakness, that he never really had a chance to be him. Now you see why I wanted to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi, Naruto. Seeing the confused look the blonde was sending him, Obito sighed. For so long you did whatever you could to make others happy, that you never truly had a chance to be you. You were just a lost soul that fell from grace because of the ninja world. Naruto frowned, knowing Obito was correct, but thinking about it, an answer came to Naruto's mind. A family. If I could have anything right now, it would be friends who love me for me, not because they want something from me. Possibly a girlfriend, someone I can grow to love, so I can grow older with them and one day have children of my own though, it's too late for that since I'm dead. Obito smiled at Naruto, though he didn't see it, and allowed Naruto a few moments of silence until he dropped the bomb. What would you say, if I could give you a second chance at life in a new world, where no one knows you so you have a chance at being you? You could make new friends, and maybe start a family of your own. Naruto snapped his head towards Obito, wondering exactly what he meant. What do you mean a new world? How is that possible? Obito grinned, and went into his lecture mode as he explained exactly what he meant. Remember when you were facing Kaguya and she sent Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, you and I to a different dimension? Well, I talked to the Sage of the Six Paths, wondering if it was possible for you to go to a dimension like that, where you can live out your life and do what you want to do. Naruto leaned forward, wondering what Hagoromo said. He said yes, he has the power to transport you to a different dimension and anchor your soul to the mortal plane. It would be up to you, move on now and go to the afterlife, or have a redo at life and then when you die again, you'll move on. Naruto looked down, a look of contemplation on his face. Move on and be with his family? Or have a go again at life, possibly have a family of his own, then die and see his parents again? The choice was simple, and while Naruto wanted to see his parents badly, the second choice was more tempting. I want to try again at life, Obito. Obito nodded, and patted the younger man on the shoulder, then grinned. Good choice, Kushinakasa said if you picked the first she was going to, and I quote, I will kick your ass so royally hard you'll be reborn from dying, and then I'm going to kick your ass again. Both males shivered at the prospect of that. Obito more so than Naruto, as Naruto didn't truly know about his mother's violent tendencies. So how's this going to work? And what's the world like that I'm going to if you know? Obito took on a thoughtful pose, then clutched his head, as if something was bothering him, but as soon as it came, it was gone and Obito was able to tell Naruto what he needed to know. The world is called Remnant, and mankind has been forced in kingdoms, or pretty much inside of walls to protect them from creatures known as Grimm that have no soul, no feelings, and want nothing but the destruction of mankind. The humans of that world have started schools for training warriors, or as they call them huntsmen and huntresses, and they're taught how to fight Grimm. As of right now, the world is fierily peaceful, as humankind has a common enemy, making them band together to face the creatures of Grimm. Naruto grinned at that. A peaceful world where humans have banded together to kill soulless creatures known as Grimm. While the prospect of going to school was not something he liked, if that meant he could fight these monsters he was in. There is one thing that is a problem with this world. There are beings called faunas, which are half-human half-animal hybrids. Some, not all, humans view them as lesser beings, and faunas have to deal with subjugation and prejudice against them for who they are. Naruto frowned, not entirely liking that, and shook his head. Wasn't there at least one kind of world out there where people just accepted each other? A world where people understood each other's pain, and didn't hate them for something they didn't have control over? Shaking his head, and deciding to worry about that later, Naruto let Obito finish. The reason I told you this is simple. The Nine Tails can't cross over with you. Obito didn't get to finish as Naruto shot up from his seat and pointed at him. What the hell do you mean? I can't not have Kurama with me, that's insane. Obito sent a glare towards Naruto, and effectively shut him up. Let me finish, Naruto. The Nine Tails cannot cross over dimensions with you, because it's not actually a living being, but a construct of chakra. If it was to cross over to the dimension you're being sent to, there'd be an unbalance of power in the universe causing it to collapse in on itself, killing any and everything. Haven't you noticed that the Nine Tails is no longer inside of you? Naruto's eyes widened as he hadn't felt it, and reaching out for Kurama, not wanted to scream because he was getting no grumpy reply from the fox. The only thing that was there, was some of the fox's chakra that had seemingly been left behind. Damn it! All this work I went through to make that bastard good, and he gets ripped out of me and gets to stay here. While Naruto started a rant about the Nine Tails, and how he effectively turned the evil being good, Obito simply sat there and waited for him to finish, even though he was on a time schedule. Once Naruto was done, he turned to Obito and smiled sheepishly. You done? I still have more to do in such limited time. Naruto grinned, and was quiet, allowing Obito to continue. As you know, your healing ability comes from the Nine Tails, and when he was ripped out of you, some of his chakra was left in your system. As me and the sage already spoke about this, and knew you choose to do it. When you cross over, the fox's chakra will be absorbed by you, giving you more fox-like features. Naruto's mouth dropped, and he wasn't sure if he should flip out, pass out, or possibly be excited. So, he did 2 of the 3. What do you mean fox-like features? That's cool, but I don't want to be some hybrid fox with a snout and a furry face. Ugh, what am I going to do to Bayo? Naruto started to hyperventilate, so Obito reached forward and hit him on the head, making the younger male look towards him. You idiot! The most that will happen is you'll grow a set of fox ears or a tail. You won't actually become some fox that can talk and walk around on its hind legs, you idiot. Naruto huffed his chest out, liking the idea of having a tail or ears, while at the same time frowning, not wanting to be hated because of being a fox, just like how people thought he was when he was younger. He could deal with the hate and negativity of the people. It'd just be nice to live his second try at life without it. Because you'll have a rapid healing ability, my gift to you should actually be good, and help you out a lot. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Obito was giving him a gift? Shrugging his shoulders, Naruto held out his hand waiting for it, but he didn't realize Obito's eye was twitching, nor did he see the fist that was quickly coming towards his head. Oh. Why'd you hit me? Is that how you gift people, by hitting them? Obito shook his fist at Naruto, annoyance clearly written on his face. No, you idiot. My gift isn't a material item, it's something else. Close your eyes. Seeing the apprehension on Naruto's face, Obito sighed, wondering how someone could be so childish. Then he remembered he was the same way when he wasn't in a serious environment. Just do it, Naruto. I don't have much time. Naruto frowned, but did as he asked, and closed his eyes. He trusted Obito. Obito may have been the reason his life was hell, why he had no parents, and why a demonic fox was sealed into him at birth, causing an entire village to hate him, and periodically hunt him down on his birthday for the annual fox hunt. But he was now a trusted comrade, and Naruto believed in him. Feeling a pair of hands rest over his eyes, Naruto frowned as he felt a small pulse, but then screamed as he hunched over, his eyes burning like no tomorrow. It all hit him at once. The pain, which was probably just as bad when he arrived here, was growing and growing, and Naruto could almost feel that his eyes were changing. But as soon as it came, it was gone. Naruto started to take deep breaths, while keeping his eyes closed, holding back the bile fluids that was attempting to crawl out of his stomach, and empty itself all over the ground. What did you do to me? Obito smirked as he looked at Naruto, and fumbling around in the weapons pouch looking for a kunai for Naruto. Handing the kunai to Naruto, he smirked as Naruto grabbed the kunai and looked into its reflection. What he wasn't expecting was for Naruto to faint on the spot because of the red and black eyes with 3 stretched triangles evenly spaced around the pupil that were curved at the top around the eye to form a circle. Sighing, as he realized he should have probably warned Naruto first, Obito sat down next to the boy and did the only thing he knew that would wake him up. Hey! They just opened a free ramen buffet down the road. Naruto snapped awake, standing up, and started to look around, a hungered look in his eyes as he desperately searched for his precious free ramen that he could eat all day. Looking around, and not seeing one, Naruto realized what Obito did and turned to him with a glare. What the hell? Don't joke about ramen like that. Shaking his head, Naruto sat on the log and looked at Obito with narrowed, red eyes. Asking the question that was on his mind, Naruto frowned. Why had Obito given him the Mangekyou Sharingan? Why? Why the Mangekyou Sharingan? Obito sat back down next to him, a small smile on his still scarred face. It's a valuable tool that'll help you in this new world. After all the pain and trouble I caused you, it's the least I can do. Consider it as my way of watching over and guiding you in this new world. Naruto frowned, not entirely sure how he felt about having the accursed eyes of the Uchiha. What did you mean by my healing ability would help me with the Mangekyou? Obito looked down at the flame, causing Naruto to do the same, and smirked. As you know, overusage of the Mangekyou will cause blindness, but with your healing ability, it'll negate the effects the Mangekyou will have on you. You can, essentially, use the Mangekyou with no drawbacks besides a few. Looking towards the older male, Naruto frowned. Besides a few? What are they so I can know? Obito seemed to think for a few seconds, then looked Naruto right in the eye. Well, you don't have to worry about blindness, but the Mangekyou in both of your eyes will still cause a significant drain in chakra. Something you don't have to worry about because your chakra will replenish what is lost before any real drowsiness can affect you. Even though, in a fight, you never know when something could happen, so unless you're in a fight, I suggest you keep at least one eye closed at all times. Another thing, as you've seen with Itachi, if you overuse the eyes, you'll still bleed from say using Kamui too many times. The Susanoo will be a real hassle to use, as you're not its original wielder, but besides that, everything else should be fine. Naruto nodded, still not sure about how he felt wielding the MS. I know you may not like it, but I have given you the tools to help this world out. Seeing that Naruto was about to say something, Obito cut him off and kept talking. We both know, Naruto, that you will always help those in need of help. This time though, I want you to do it because you want to, and I will be your guiding light. Smiling, Naruto could only nod his head along, knowing Obito was right. He would never turn down someone in need of help, not matter what. It just wasn't in his nature to turn down those that couldn't defend themselves. I also have another gift for you. This one is more sentimental to me, but I want you to have it. Obito opened his hands, a bright light engulfing the seemingly empty black void for a second, and when it died down, Naruto raised an eyebrow. Not at the item itself, but the way Obito was holding the item was like a mother holding a child. It was a pair of blue-rimmed goggles with dark orange lenses that were connected to ear protectors. These were the same goggles I wore as a child. I didn't know my parents. My mom had been killed on a mission when I was 2, while my dad had been killed when I was 1. These were one of the first things they bought me, as my dad loved the color orange just like me, and just like you. I want you to have them because they'll hide your Sharingans. Naruto was honored, so he carefully took the goggles and placed them around his ears, then allowed the lenses to rest above his nose. In another snap of his fingers, another glow permitted through the black void, and this time it was a light brown backpack on Naruto's back. In that backpack is everything you could need. Scrolls full of weapons, non-perishable food for 6 months, extra clothing, and some other things I think you might need for your new journey. I've had a chance to view the world you'll be taking up residence in, so I know certain things, and knowing the type of person you are, I threw in a few things that you'll need. Obito was shocked when Naruto pulled him into a hug and thanked him. I just thought of something, Obito. Seeing the questioning look on his face, Naruto continued. You were on my father's genin team, and when I viewed your memories when we fought, I saw how close you were to my mom and dad, so that'd make you the closest thing I have to a brother. Thanks, Ni-san. Obito smiled as he stepped back, truly glad Naruto had forgiven him for the pain that had been caused. Looking down at his clothing, Naruto smiled sheepishly, then looked to Obito. I don't suppose you can give me some different clothing? My jumpsuit is kind of worn out. Which it was. The right arm sleeve was completely missing, there was tears and holes all over, while the orange pants Naruto loved dearly were now nothing more but shorts. Obito sighed as he snapped his fingers, and in a bright light, Naruto was wearing a new set of clothing. It was a simple choice of clothing, and while it didn't have enough orange on it, Naruto would make a sacrifice and deal with the bland monstrosity of clothing. It was a black, long-sleeved top that had the Uzumaki swirl on the back of it, a pair of opera-like gloves that stopped right at his knuckles, a pair of dark-colored pants, with standard sandals and white stirrups. On his waist was a thick orange belt with armor-like plates attached to it, while his arms had the same plates on it. To finish everything off, Naruto had a kunai pouch on his right thigh, with a circular pouch full of shuriken on his lower back. Naruto looked the outfit over and whistled at it. The outfit is practical, durable, and I made sure you still had orange in it. It's extremely resistant to tears, cuts, knives, shuriken and kunai. You have metal plating on your thighs and arms in case something happens and a Grim tries to bite you. You can stop it with those. That's about all I can give you. Everything else, you must acquire on your own. Naruto nodded his head, and fixed the straps of the backpack, and looked around. So, how do I get to this Remnant place? Obito stood up, alongside Naruto since they had been sitting, and motioned to Naruto's eyes. The Mangekyou is pre-programmed to take you to Remnant. All you need to do is push chakra into the chakra receptors in the eye in a swirl-like pattern, and the short-ranged Kamui will do the rest for you. That's all there is to it. Naruto nodded, pleased that it'd be so easy, but before he went, he needed to know one thing. Obito, before I leave, I have to ask. What happened back home? Obito gave a small smile, knowing Naruto would be happy to hear the news. Your death wasn't in vain, Naruto. With your death, Sasuke couldn't bring himself to rebel against the world that his one true friend fought so hard to create. He's locked himself away in Uzushiogakure, where no one can get to him because of the whirlpools, where he plans to stay. Naruto nodded, feeling a little sad that Sasuke decided to lock himself away from the world, but knew there was nothing he could do about it. Deciding to get on with the teleportation jutsu, Naruto opened right eye while closing his left. Kakashi had the long-range Kamui, while Obito had the short-range Kamui and the intangible Kamui. Focusing on his new acquired eyes, Naruto started to push chakra into the chakra receptors of the eye in a swirl-like pattern, just like Obito said, and couldn't help but grin as the eye started to make the air around him disrupt and swirl, and as fast as it started to happen, it stopped as Naruto was sucked into the rippled air around him. Once he was gone, Obito smiled as he too started to disappear, so he could return to the afterlife where he would see his precious Rin again. Right before his body completely disappeared, Obito started to laugh, leaving Naruto, who was already gone, with his last words for hopefully a very long time. Damn, I should have told him he'll have to learn how to use the Sharingan because I programmed it to make it easy this one time. Oh well, he's a smart boy in the heat of things. Vale, one of 4 of the great kingdoms, was having a beautiful day out. The sun was high in the sky, spreading much-needed warmth upon its people, while the beings down below went on with their days, seemingly not a care in the world. Humans and Faunus, the 2 races that lived in Remnant, while sometimes facing conflict. Taion could all admit that the day was good, that is until the people of Vale heard someone screaming, "Holy fucking shit! Obito, I'll kill you!" Most people looked towards the sky, but saw nothing, because the person they had heard was too high up in the sky. Naruto Uzumaki was not having a good day like the other people down below were. When he had agreed with Obito to have a retry at life, he had thought by using Kamui he'd just land in Remnant then go on with his life. What he wasn't expecting though, was to use Kamui, and end up so high in the sky, that the clouds below looked like little white dots, and for him to have virtually no air to breath in whatsoever. The air felt so thin, and even though he was gasping for air, all the air that did enter his lungs was freezing cold. His day had turned from shitty, because of his battle with Kaguya, to good, because he was actually relieved to be dead, to awesome, because he got a second chance at life, to fucking horrible, because of him now flying towards Remnant at breakneck speeds. When he died, which hopefully wasn't going to be now, he was going to kick Obito in the nuts hard. Naruto was starting to show blueness in the face. The lack of air was so detrimental that he was sure he was going to pass out soon from oxygen deprivation. He needed a plan, and quick. Taking a moment to think, Naruto looked back on the war, more so, the extra dimension Obito had control of because of his Mangekyou Sharingan. If he could figure out how to at least become intangible, and send at least his head to the separate dimension to take in the much-needed oxygen, Naruto would be able to figure out a plan to stop him from dying by impacting with the land of Remnant that was coming into view, even though the clouds still looked like white dots for how high he was. Sending chakra into his right eye, while at the same closing his left eye, Naruto tried to make the swirling motion again. But unlike what happened 30 seconds ago when he arrived in this world, it didn't work. Cursing out Obito's name again, Naruto took a deep breath as his face started to take on a dark blue hue, and tried something, anything. Making a shadow clone, Naruto grabbed the clone, and sucked out the oxygen that was in its lungs, into his, but realized it didn't work because the clone was him, and he barely had any oxygen himself. "I'll kill you, Obito! I swear it, when I die you're so dead to me, dead." This was not a fun experience, and Naruto knew he needed to do something, but it was so hard to think when he could barely breathe, which didn't help from the wind that rushing into his face making it even harder to breathe because of the pressure. Damn it! I wish the transformation's jutsu were real and not just a minor illusion, then I could turn into a bird. The clouds were looking a lot closer, and Naruto, whose face was starting to become purple, flipped his body in the air, so his back was towards the oncoming wind, and took a deep breath as the air started to get thicker, and it worked as he was able to get the much-needed air into his lungs. Haha, that's it! Shadow Clone Jutsu. Making a clone, the clone Naruto got right under Naruto, and with a distinct nod, the clone Naruto grinned as it kicked its boss dead in the chest, pushing him back into the air. Naruto grunted as his clone kicked him, and while he would have liked for the clone to just grab his arm, twirl him around, and then throw him, with the speed he was just going, it wouldn't have worked. Naruto started to take bigger gulps of air, and his breathing returned to normal, allowing him the chance to think. It had worked. Naruto had brought peace, died, and was now in a whole new universe thanks to Obito, his once former enemy, and he now had the chance to just live a simple life, maybe become a huntsman, kill Grim, and find a woman like his mother had told him to when he was a baby, right before she died, alongside his father. Yet Naruto couldn't help the shiver that ran down his spine. Why do I feel like I just cursed my luck, and knowing me, I probably did, ugh. His luck was a bastard. When it came to such pointless things like winning bets, playing poker, or just pointless things, Naruto never lost. But when it came to things like his life, missions, or adventures, something bad always seemed to happen. Creating a clone as he finally passed through the clouds, Naruto was sent back up into the clouds, slowing down his descent some more, bringing him to an almost gradual descent, allowing him to breathe easily and get a look down from where he was in the sky. There was a giant mass of land below him, but with the way he was falling, it looked like he was most likely going to fall into a giant forest. That wasn't something he was worried about right now though, because he still had at least 5 minutes of airtime because of how slow he was now falling. Though Naruto did figure something out, he was looking down at Remnant, but in his mind, he had a bigger picture of Remnant laid out, and he knew every little feature he had seen so far, like a photographic memory that was constantly showing him what he wasn't seeing through his eyes at the moment. It's like I'm seeing a picture just flash through my mind. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto made another clone, but instead of this one grabbing his arm and throwing him like the last one had done, Naruto grabbed the clone and threw it to the side, and waited for it to be far enough until it popped. When it did, Naruto's instinct was proven correct. He got the clone's memories like always, but this one was better. It was like a photograph of everything the clone saw. So this is what Sasuke meant at one time by the Sharingan remembers everything it sees. Naruto could see the upside to something like this. If he was in, say, a school, all he would have to do was look at something once, and he'd remember it. He could essentially read a book in 20 seconds, whereas a normal person would probably take days or even a month. Naruto could also see the downside to something like that. Seeing people die, watching as people's guts were slowly cut out from their body, and to remember it forever, would be horrible. Seeing that the ground was coming up, and that he had about 200 feet until impact, Naruto created a clone, and jumped off it, pushing down to the ground faster. He waited, and when he had about 50 more feet until impact, he made one last clone, jumped off of it, then allowed his body to hit the ground. A 50-foot-tall drop wasn't anything to worry about for a shinobi if you use the chakra correctly, and reinforce your legs. Landing on the ground, Naruto frowned, needing a plan of action. He was in a new world, with no friends or family, having a new chance at life, but knew nothing about this world besides the layout of the town that was about 2 miles over. There was a library, just east of a police station that he'd see if he walked out of the forest through the north. Running a hand through his hair, Naruto sighed as he looked north, but stopped as his hand hit something that was not supposed to be there. Bringing up his hand, Naruto touched the 2 extra appendages, and about passed out. He remembered Obito saying he'd grow fox ears, but he thought he was joking. Making another shadow clone, Naruto looked the clone over and whistled. Those were definitely not fox ears. His extra ears, which weren't even ears, were 1 foot long, pointed horns that looked exactly like Kaguya Otsutsuki's. Why do I have horns like Kaguya? That was not what he was expecting to have, but knowing he couldn't do anything about it, because in hindsight Obito did warn him about it. Naruto sighed and looked north of his position, knowing the first thing he needed to do was find a library, get as much information about this world as possibly, then find somewhere to work and make some money until he could figure out his real plan of attack. With his mind made up, Naruto set out north, but not before leaving over 500 clones of himself to practice with the Sharingan. I still need to figure what's in all the scrolls Obito gave me. I can do that later. First information, then a job. This sucked, having to find some low-end job, but money was money, and while Naruto wasn't a materialistic person, there were certain things he needed, and staying in the forest like he had originally been taught in Konoha, he'd go nowhere in this life by staying in the forest and just waiting for something to happen, which could possibly take time Naruto didn't feel like wasting. Though finding a job shouldn't be that hard, especially when Naruto could just place a person in a genjutsu using the Sharingan, if his clones figured out how by then, and make himself seem like the most qualified person there for the job. They used the Sharingan again to see how the job was done and do it, make a quick buck, and save it. But before he left, Naruto placed a transformation over himself to look like Sasuke. As he didn't want anyone to see him yet, he was going to stay hidden for a little bit. Bursting out of the tree line, Naruto smirked as he saw the backside of some buildings, and started to walk up the walls, deciding to not let anyone see him just yet, and took to the rooftops at breakneck speeds, where there was no one else. Looking around the city, or village, whatever they called it, Naruto had to admit, it looked amazing. People were walking around with smiles on their faces, seemingly not a care in the world, while they sat at small cafes or stores, bought what they needed and left. It reminded him of Konoha, but even better. His home would always be that, his home, but with how he was treated as a child, beatings, being called demon and monsters, and always being overpriced on rotten food, which was the only thing he could buy. Seeing all these people so happy just brought pure joy to Naruto. One thing that wasn't understood though, was the metal contraptions with wheels that were moving faster than him. They seemed to be some sort of horseless carriage that were driven by the people here, but how they were moving was leaving Naruto clueless, because he had never seen something like that before. Of course, back home, no one would need a machine like that because as a shinobi, he was expected to be run from one side of Konoha to the other side as a genin without being tired, and with his stamina, Naruto was able to run from Konoha to Suna when he was 16 without the need to stop. Shrugging his shoulder and looking away from the weird vehicles, Naruto jumped from the roof he was on, after pushing chakra into his legs, and make a giant leap over to the roof of what looked like a hospital, jumped over the fencing of the roof, ran across the roof, then made a giant leap off, landing in the back alley of the hospital, and another building. Walking over to a trash can that had a lid on it, Naruto sat his backpack down, and unzipped it. He didn't want to walk into a library with a backpack full of scrolls. People might think he was trying to steal the scrolls the library had, so he bit his thumb, drawing a little blood, and started to write on the back of his hand using the blood. While Naruto wasn't anywhere near being good with Fuinjutsu, because he had slacked off and found it lame when Jiraiya tried to teach him, he did know 2 seals, a gravity weight seal, and a sealing scroll seal, which he was using the latter of. When the inky blood was set into the perfect sequence of kanji and other things used to make the seal, Naruto held up the pointed and middle finger of his right arm, and solidified the liquid blood. Fuinjutsu, seal. Inspecting it one last time, to make sure he wouldn't seal away his backpack full of things that Obito had given him, just to lose it, Naruto hummed in though, but then grinned as he realized everything was fine. So placing his hand on the trash can, Naruto sat his backpack on the top of his hand, and sealed it away. Deciding that everything was good, Naruto walked out of the alley, completely unaware of the mint green-haired, red-eyed woman watching him do so with a grin on her face, as she had something new to report to her boss. Unaware of the woman that had just watched him, Naruto walked across the street from the alley he was in, over to the library. It was huge, and looked more like in a cathedral, but not truly caring about how it looked, and more for what was on the inside. Naruto walked up the stairs and entered the building. The inside was nice, and had 4 stories that had rows and rows of books that were on shelves. Looking around, Naruto saw a front desk, and saw the only way inside was by signing in, so he walked over to the librarian and gave a smile, something that made the slightly older lady blush. "Hello, I was wondering if there are any scrolls here on the history of the world?" The lady sent him a questioning glance, wondering why he was asking for scrolls on the world. "I'm sorry, sir, we don't carry scrolls here. If you need a scroll, you can find one at a great buy, because this is a library and we have books." Naruto raised an eyebrow, confused on why he would need to buy a scroll at this great buy place, when the library was supposed to carry them. Books would work though, which was something he didn't understand. Scrolls usually carried more information on something than a book could, because scrolls back home were made to seal in other scrolls. Books were usually found at bookstores, but not a library. "Ah, right, sorry about that. I just came from a small village, and I don't truly know much about the world, and I've always loved to learn." He couldn't believe those words were coming out of his mouth. Of course he loved to learn techniques on how to kill a man, but not educational things. "Well, sir, here at the Cathedral Library of Vale, we have a wide selection of books ranging from the history of Vale, the history of Vacuo, the history of Mistral, the history of Atlas, and the history of Mantle. Anything you could possibly need would be here. Would you like for me to show you?" Naruto nodded with a smile, but on the inside was cursing Sasuke for his good looks, because Naruto was sure if he came in here, the woman would have treated him differently. The woman stood up, and Naruto was able to see a black tail coming from her back, and raised an eyebrow. Noticing the look, the woman frowned, thinking Naruto hated fondness. "Do you not like fondness?" Naruto placed his hands up in a placating manner and smiled at the woman, taking away her fears. "What? Of course I do. My mother was a fauness, but my dad was human and I took after my dad more than my mom." Naruto wasn't even sure that was possible, but it was the best lie that came to him at the moment, and it worked as the woman walked off with a smile, completely forgetting to ask Naruto to sign in. Naruto silently followed after her, looking around the place, while keeping his ears open, listening to the woman fauness to talk. "Excuse me, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of fauness are you?" The woman looked back to him with a smile as her tail curled around his waist. "Oh no, it's fine. I'm a feline fauness. My father was a fauness, and my mom was a human. Unlike my dad who had cat ears, I have a tail, which is a lot easier to hide. It's just, at work I feel safe because no one here discriminates." Naruto frowned, already not liking that. Of course, Obito said this world had two species, human and fauness, but Naruto was really hoping they could get along and not hate each other. "What kind was your mother if you don't mind me asking?" Naruto looked over at the blonde-haired girl and smiled, making her blush. "A fox fauness. She had a red tail with a white tipping that made her look badass." As they arrived to their place, the feline fauness pointed down the road they were on and started to point things out for Naruto. "This is rwby 6. On shelf 4, second shelf from the top is a book on what we know of the world history. On shelf 6, the third row from the bottom, is a book on the government and how it works. On shelf 7, fifth shelf from the top is a book on the different academies and their history. And finally, on shelf 8, fifth shelf from the top, is a book in the faunus race and the human race, and the divide between them." Naruto gave the woman a smile, which caused her to blush again as she walked off, and looked for and grabbed all the books told him about in their places. With his books in hand, Naruto walked over to an empty table with all 6 books that he ended up grabbing, and opened the first one that was called The Known History of Remnant, and started to flip through the thick book. It took no more than an eye glance, and Naruto knew the whole page, so it took no more than 5 minutes, and Naruto already knew the entire history of what was known about Remnant, and he was shocked. Not much was actually known about Remnant itself, and from a certain time point, they don't have anything written down about their history, as it was lost, and the only things left are myths and legends. One legend in particular caught Naruto's attention, about these 4 ladies named the maidens who hold immense power that is passed down from generation to generation. With a smirk on his face, Naruto made sure to remember that, even though he would, in case he ran into a girl with this immense power it spoke of. Some of the legends were stupid, like the legend of a time-traveling wizard from 10,000 years in the past that came to the future to share his power with the world, while another legend made Naruto raise an eyebrow. Apparently, there's a group of warriors that are feared because of the power behind their silver eyes, which almost sounds like a dojutsu to Naruto. Not much was written in the huge book, most being legends and myths, but there were some facts. Apparently, there was a time when mankind had fought each other, that they called the Great War, and it was fought for countless reasons, and is stated to be the largest conflict in recorded history. But the main reason were the humans and faunus wishing to have individualism, and to be allowed to make art. But it doesn't say which kingdoms were the one to try and suppress or preserve individuality. The war had ended and the 4 warring kingdoms met on a small island called Vale to discuss the end of the war altogether. Though, the funniest thing Naruto read was that the people nowadays named their children after the fundamental aspects of art or color to demonstrate their oppression to the kingdoms that wished to take away their individuality. Further into the book, it talked about how the aftermath of the war led to the creation of the Huntsman Academies in each of the 4 kingdoms. Beacon Academy in Vale, Shade Academy in Vacuo, Haven Academy in Mistral, and Atlas Academy in Mantle, which was now known as Atlas. Even though the war was known as the Great War, something Naruto found funny because there's nothing great about war, they had another war, so to speak, the Faunus Rights Revolution, which would probably be the only war Naruto would ever agree was needed. The war was said to have lasted for at least 3 years, because the humans wanted to place the Faunus race on an island called Menagerie, and keep them away, only for the Faunus to fight back because they wanted equal rights to live within the 4 kingdoms. Naruto couldn't help but sigh. This was like his life back in Konoha all over again. Just this time, people most likely wouldn't be calling him demon or monster, but an animal or a house pet. Though, one cool thing they shared in common was night vision, so to speak. As a shinobi, they were taught to work in the dark, without having the need to actually see in the dark. Another thing in the book made Naruto narrow his eyes. A group called the White Fang had risen after the war to be a symbol of peace and unity between humans and Faunus. But it really did nothing for the Faunus, who was now a terrorist group hell-bent on mankind's destruction. I am going to find all the prominent members of the White Fang, figure out how to use Kamui on them, and let them starve to death in my personal dimension. He wouldn't kill them because that's not how he does things, but he would leave them to starve, and let them die. A group that was hell-bent on destroying the human race needed to be destroyed. With the things they had done, there was no redeeming themselves. Abducting children for ransom, suicide bombings in populated areas, broadcasting the killing of important humans, just to name a few. Yeah, they were dead. Obito, Madara, Pain, and Gaara, who were all his former enemies, he couldn't blame them for what they did. Obito had watched the woman he loved die in the arms on the man she loved, and his grasp on reality was distorted, driving him to do what he did. Madara, who was a co-founder of Konoha, had watched his brother die because of the second Hokage, and started to slip into darkness, and wanted a world where there was no fighting, which was his reasoning for the infinite Tsukuyomi. Pain, in Naruto's eyes, had it the worst. He had a nice, loving family, with a nice father and a loving mother who cared for him, only to lose them because of Konoha, Naruto's home. Then, if that wasn't enough, Nagato, or Pain, found Yahiko and Konan, and started the Akatsuki, the true Akatsuki, whose goal was to find peace and aim, only to lose Yahiko because Yahiko wanted to keep Konan safe and killed himself with Nagato's own hands, who then joined forces with Obito. Gaara, he was just a lost soul when they met, who had no one to love him, something he desperately wanted, even though he tried to deny it, and without a reason in life. He needed something to prove his existence, and by killing those who challenged him, he was proving he was still alive and able to kill. But these White Fang members were going to die. Killing people is acceptable, most bad guys will do it, but targeting children for money, something Obito, Nagato, or Madara didn't do, was not expectable. Naruto had a new plan. He was going to find work and start making money, and search for the White Fang under the guise of wanting to help their cause, but discreetly start taking out the figureheads and top guys. Shaking his head as he grabbed the next book, which was about the government, Naruto started to skim through the book, more so holding his thumb on the pages and slowly moving it back, letting the pages fly by him, while his eyes recorded everything in it, then filed it and stored it away at Naruto's head. This book was smaller, so it took about a minute to finish, and Naruto frowned. Even after reading, Naruto didn't understand this government, which was each led by a council. It was stupid, because basic human nature was to be greedy, and most people grew out of their greediness, but to have a council of people run a kingdom was just stupid. All it would take is for one person on the council to become stricken with greed, and people start turning up missing, bodies are never found, and one council member decides he wants to rule the kingdom by himself. That's why Konoha was better. They only had one ruler, the Hokage, who was the strongest in the village, and run the village. No one, besides maybe Danzo and Orochimaru, were stupid enough to go against the Hokage. But here would be different. All Naruto would have to do was find a council member, kidnap him and hide him away, then use a henge and bam, all good. Deciding that he had learned enough to get by, as the first book pretty much answered everything he needed to know, Naruto grabbed all 6 books, and placed them back on their shelf in the right spot, and started to walk out of the library. Waving to the blushing librarian as he left, Naruto frowned as he decided on what to do. He needed a job, knew the layout of Vale, as he was told that's where he was, but didn't particularly have any work skills, meaning he'd need to work somewhere that wasn't hard to work, like a bar, a grocery store, or a small ma and pa type store. He could easily get a job at a bar, but he'd need to show some sort of identification, something he didn't have, even though he now planned to get it. It'd take too long to do so the bar was out. Deciding to just walk around Vale, Naruto walked down an alley, and let his henge drop, knowing that if he got a job, there'd be a chance for it to drop and he'd have to do some explaining. The only reason he had worn the henge into the library was because he didn't want to be on camera just yet, and these small stores probably wouldn't have cameras when apparently everyone had some sort of knowledge when it came to fighting, or they knew how to use their aura and semblance, something Naruto had just read about when it explained it briefly about the war that had happened. Naruto stopped momentarily, having just realized something. He'd need to find a Faunus-friendly place that would allow him the chance to work. With the way most people felt about Faunus, no doubt there'd be places that didn't hire Faunus, meaning it would be even harder to get work around here. While he could use a transformation, there's always a chance of it dispelling because of someone touched him, or Naruto ran into something. Turning around the corner he was on, Naruto smirked as he saw the perfect store that'd hopefully accept him, Tuxin's Book Trade. The store had a nice green banner over the door, with glass winds that had the letters TBT on one window, while the other window said home to every book under the sun. While a bookstore wouldn't be his first choice, there'd probably be no cameras on the inside, because hey, who steals books? Walking over to the store, Naruto stopped and started to think. A bookstore? Him? It was almost laughable, but Naruto needed money, and with the way the store was built under an apartment complex, he needed a base of operation that no one would ever expect, and if he could figure out how to use the Kamui for teleportation, it'd be almost impossible to track him. So with a sigh, and a loss to his pride, Naruto walked into the store. Naruto had to admit, it was nice. There were a lot of books lining the shelves in an organized fashion. Comic books were near the front while novels filled the middle and back. From where Naruto was, he could a back room, most likely an office or employee work area. Seeing that there were no cameras on the inside, plus no one in front, Naruto walked over to the front desk and started to ring the bell. Hello? Anyone back there? Naruto rang the bell a few more times and grinned as it worked. An older-looking man walked out of the back and looked at Naruto with a raised eyebrow. The man was tall, taller than Naruto, and had blackish-brown cleanly cut hair that was combed over, and hazel-colored eyes. The man had long sideburns, and a short-sleeved beige shirt with black accents and a zipper on it, pulled down to a point below the collarbone. The man gave Naruto a confused look, which Naruto guessed to be because of the horns on his head. Welcome to Tuxin's bookshop, home of every book under the sun. Can I help you? Naruto nodded, and got his speech ready even though he was going to wing it, and was just pulling on straws at the moment, making a speech up. Pointing at the man, Naruto grinned. You good sir, are in for a treat today. You work at a bookstore, so you probably have thousands of people come into your fine store, and I, Naruto Uzumaki, have decided to be of great help, and offer you the chance to offer me a job, one which I will happily accept with a smile on my face. Naruto pointed to himself, never losing the grin on his face, as the man leaned against the counter and looked Naruto over, wondering who in the hell this kid was to just walk into his store and offer him a chance to offer Naruto a job. So you want a job? Naruto nodded, and seeing that his speech didn't work, ran a hand down his face. Yeah, I just got here to Vale, and I need a job. I don't want to try a big corporate place because I'm a faunus, and I'm pretty sure they'll tell me to fuck off, so I thought to myself, hey, maybe a nice little bookstore will do it, so I'd give it a try here. The man nodded, and looked up to the horns on Naruto's head again. Are those your faunus features? Naruto nodded, inwardly cringing because he knew they didn't look like ears, more so horns, like Kagaya's, and someone might think he was lying. He couldn't be like, oh hey, I'm not actually a faunus. These ears, which by the way are made out of bone, aren't actually ears because I'm not a faunus. I got them from absorbing some 1,000-year-old demon fox. What kind of faunus are you? Naruto sighed, and decided to tell a half-lie. I'm not entirely sure. I'm an orphan, and I grew up on a small island outside of Patch. No one knows who my parents were, and the only one that did was our village leader, but he said he couldn't tell me because of the many enemies my parents made throughout their life. I guess my mother was a faunus too, but I don't know what kind. Tuxin, because Naruto was guessing this was his store, frowned, but nodded. How well do you see in the dark? Naruto shrugged. As was said earlier, Naruto was a shinobi who was supposed to be able to fight in the dark without the need of being able to see. During war times, the best time to strike was during the night, while people slept, but if you can't see in the dark, then what's the point of attacking? So during the academy, each student was trained on how to be able to fight by just listening to an opponent's movement. Though with the Sharingan, Naruto was sure he would be able to see at night, as Sasuke had mentioned something about that to him. Really good, like night vision pretty much. Tuxin gave a brief nod then sighed. Well, I believe you about being a faunus. But even if they are a tad bit unorthodox, it'd say either a ram faunus, and your horns just haven't started to curl yet, or even a bull faunus. Also, you have those marks on your face that look like whiskers. Let me ask you something first. Do you know of the 3 claws? Naruto shook his head, not knowing what that meant, making Tuxin blow a breath of relief. He had been planning to leave the White Fang, and was at first worried about Naruto being a member that had been sent to kill him, but because Naruto didn't know the question, it only made him assume Naruto wasn't a member. Something that made him glad. But he didn't know what to do. Naruto seemed like a good kid, but with the chance of White Fang members possibly finding out he planned to leave, there was a chance the kid could be drawn into the middle of a battle that he wasn't ready for, even though he was. What's your name? Naruto was confused on why he was asking, but nevertheless answered him. Name's Naruto Uzumaki, at your service, flashing him a thumbs-up. Tuxin, who had a few more questions for him. You said you just arrived here in Vale, correct? I'm taking an educated guess at saying you have nowhere to live. Naruto's grin dropped, and Tuxin got his answer. I'll tell you what, kid, you don't have a place to stay, so I'll give you a job here, and an apartment to live in rent-free for 6 months. But you have to make me a deal. Nodding to the older man, and happy at the prospect of having a home and a job, Naruto would promise to do anything. Anything you see, I want you to turn a blind eye to. If people come in here, looking for me, tell them where I'm not here, ask them to leave, and close down shop if I'm not in the back. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the older man under his goggles, and nodded, but first he needed to know why. Why? What exactly would I need to turn a blind eye to? And who exactly would be searching for you? Tuxin hesitated for a second, making Naruto narrow his eyes even more, but after a few seconds, Tuxin sighed as he looked around the store, making sure there was no one in there that he didn't see, and motioned for Naruto to follow him to the back. Naruto did what he asked, and followed him into the back room, which was nothing more than a desk with a computer, a round table with a few drinks on it, and a mini fridge in the corner of the room. Taking a seat at the round table, Tuxin motioned for Naruto to do the same, which he did. Tell me what you know about the White Fang. Not liking where this was going, Naruto made sure the release on his hidden kunai mechanism was set to release, without Tuxin noticing, and started to talk. I know they're a terroristic group of faunists who have recently started to use drastic measures against the human race, something I don't agree with. Tuxin nodded, and prepared himself. He saw the slight twitch and turn in Naruto's arm after he asked about the White Fang, and wanted to make sure Naruto wouldn't try anything. So you know enough. I'm part of the White Fang, but recently, since they've been using such drastic measures, something I don't agree with, I've been having second thoughts about them. The new leader has put in a law, so to speak, anyone who leaves the White Fang is to be sentenced to death. If you can guess, I plan to leave the White Fang, but I think someone has figured it out already and have been planning to come after me. Nodding his head along with him, Naruto set the mechanism to lock, and placed his hands behind his head. So you plan to leave? I believe I can help you out then. Sitting up straight, Tuxin looked Naruto right in the eye, right in the goggle, with a serious expression on his face. Explain. Naruto hummed for a few seconds, deciding if he should tell Tuxin his plan, and realized with how serious the man just became, he could trust him, not out of trust, but mutual agreement. Make sure you don't repeat this. I plan to search out the White Fang under the guise of wanting to join, but really I plan on secretly taking out top-ranking members. Tuxin raised an eyebrow, not truly believing he heard that right. The kid wanted to take out top-ranking members? He need to be powerful. Either you're crazy powerful kid, or you're nuts. For some reason, I believe it to be the first rather than the latter. Naruto nodded, and grinned. I'm more powerful than I look, and have powers this world has probably never seen. I'll be honest with you, Tuxin, I'm placing a little trust in you. If you can stay in the White Fang for about another month, just enough time to get me in, I'll fake your death, get you new identification, birth records, everything you could possibly need to start a new life. All you would need to do is be willing to change your look, and possibly never come back to Vale. Tuxin was staring at Naruto with a straight face. The kid was asking him to get him into the White Fang, and in return he'd help Tuxin fake his death and start new life? It was so simply of an answer, Tuxin would be stupid to turn it down. There's a White Fang meeting in 2 weeks. About an hour walk from here. If you keep your end of the bargain, I'll sign over the deed of the shop and make it yours for helping me out. How do you plan to get new identification that isn't fake? They do have ways of checking. Naruto hummed for a second, not considering that, but knowing there must be some sort of official government office to get it. Naruto just needed time to look around. Anything I tell you does not get repeated or the offer is off the table, okay? After a small nod from Tuxin, Naruto continued. I'm not in the database, or records myself. I plan to break into wherever it is they make identification, and create me some. I have no birth records, no dentist appointments, nothing. To this world I don't exist, so I need to make some form of ID for myself. When I do that, I'll make you everything you need, as long as you keep your end of the deal. Tuxin stuck out his hand, and looking at it Naruto grinned as he shook the older male's hand, the offer being set. Also, if anyone does come in here within the next month, I'll make sure nothing happens to you. Patting the younger male on the shoulder, Tuxin stood up and walked over to his desk. He sat down for a second, then entered a code into the hidden safe under his desk that kept the stores lean. Grabbing an entire bag, Tuxin opened it, counted through the turquoise, pink, yellow and blue carded lean, and then tied the bag back up and threw it to Naruto. There's 25,000 lean, enough to last you months. Keep it. When you help me with everything else, I'll give you half of what I got, and the store. Naruto sent the man a thank you nod, and sealed the bag away into the seal on his palm, not caring the man was in the room. Seeing it, Tuxin nodded to himself, affirming the fact that Naruto was not normal, and indeed had powers this world hadn't seen. Now, talking about your job and apartment. Until you help me with everything, all I ask is that you work from 11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, then I'll take over and you can do whatever it is you do. And here throwing Naruto a scroll, who looked at it weirdly, Tuxin continued talking. That's a new scroll with the key activating door opened on it. 9th floor, room 9. Raising an eyebrow at the kid who looked like he had never seen a scroll before, Tuxin deep in a deep breath. Have you never seen a scroll before? Seeing Naruto shake his head, Tuxin walked over to him and sat down, showing him how it's done. I'll show you what you need to know, then that's it. To open your door upstairs, all you do is scan the small black bar right here. Everything else, you'll need to figure out yourself. Naruto nodded as Tuxin showed how what to do with that. Naruto walked out into the front of the store and left through the front door. Walking through the alley that was between his new job and a small store next to it, Naruto walked up the flight of stairs, all 8 of them, to reach the 9th floor, and walked over to the 9th door, which was on the end of the hallway. Doing exactly as Tuxin said, Naruto scanned the small black bar that was on the backside of the electrical scroll, and opened the door to his new home. Walking into the living room, which also served as both the bedroom and kitchen, Naruto nodded in appreciation. In the left corner of the room, to the right of the window, was a twin-size mattress. To the left side of the mattress, which was horizontal with the front wall, was a 3-seated couch with a recliner to the right of that. A small coffee table was in front of the couch, then pushed up against the wall in front of the coffee table was an entertainment center with a T.V that was at least 72 inches. Then to the right of the T.V, in almost a medium-sized room with no door, more so a cubby, was a stove, a microwave, and a fridge. This was home, and Naruto was excited to say the least. His first day here in Remnant wasn't as bad as he had thought it would be, not counting falling out of the sky and wanting to kill Obito, but it was good. Releasing the seal on his palm, his bag full of lean, something he'd need to learn the value of since he was used to Rio, and the backpack full of scrolls Obito had given him appeared in his hand. Before bed, we was going to go through everything Obito had given him. Walking over to the couch, Naruto sat down, and opened the backpack, and took out, and counted, all 13 scrolls. Each of them had a name on them, and Naruto almost cried seeing who they were from, with a longer note one Obito's scroll. Naruto, here are scrolls from your mother, your father, Jiraiya-sama, Sandaime-sama, and myself. Everything else is things I think you'll need. Obito had done too much for him, first a new chance at life, second his new eyes, and now this. Deciding to read the notes of the letters first, Naruto started with his mom's. Naruto-kun, it's your mom again. When Obito said you were most likely going to be sent to a new world after your death, I kicked him in the nuts hard. But, even though I miss you my baby boy, I want you to be happy, and have a new take at life doing what you want to do. Do whatever it is you want, become an author, open a ramen stand and spread the mighty food of God, or even become a hermit and give me thousands of grandbabies, I don't care. Just do what makes you happy. I'll always be proud of your accomplishments, and what you've done. In this scroll are just a few things, nothing like what everyone else gave you. One is a photo book of me and your father all throughout our life I want you to see. The last picture is of me pregnant with you, and your father, and we were both very happy that you were being born. The other things are mine and your father's wedding bands, even though we were never married, they're more like fake wedding rings. The last item is my own personal, handwritten notebook on Fuinjutsu, from my very first seal I ever made, to my very last before my death. I don't want you to think you weren't loved because we did. I love you and I better not see you for at least 80 years or I'll kick you in the nuts harder than Obito. Naruto gulped, and made sure he knew not to die for at least 80 years unless he feared the wrath of his mother. Placing the scroll back in the backpack, Naruto went on to the next one, his father's, and read it with just an eye glance. So you've died, good job kiddo, certainly younger than I did. Naruto could just envision his father laughing at him right now, but deciding to read on, Naruto could only laugh at his father who probably thought he was funny. All jokes aside, I'm so proud of you for what you have accomplished, words can't even describe it. I'll keep this letter short, as I know you're not one for reading. In my scroll is my Hokage's jacket that I want you to have, and my Konoha Jonin flak jacket. I debated on the pros and cons of giving you the Hiraishin, but with Obito's plan of giving you his eyes, you already have a better transportation jutsu. I love you Naruto. Placing the scroll back into backpack, Naruto smiled, remembering the chance he had to fight a war with his dad, and silently prayed for him. Grabbing the next scroll, Naruto read it with a smile, because it was from the most influential man in his life. So, you carried out the legacy and I left you. I always thought it would be either your father or Nagato to do so, but you did it, and I must say I'm shocked an idiot like you could do it. Naruto's eyebrow twitched, knowing the man just had to screw with him, even beyond death. Damn that arrow Sennin. Just kidding. I'm very proud I was able to call you my student, and in the end, you have surpassed me in battle, just not intelligence. But before you throw my scroll away, just listen. In this scroll are my books, tales of the utterly gutsy shinobi and my make-out tactics. You might not read them, but you could sell copies of them and make a lot of money. That's how I became so rich. I truly have nothing left to teach you, so instead, I give you my empty Maiboka headband. Believe it or not, that headband was my prized possession, and I'd destroy my book series and never work on it again if it meant keeping that headband safe. Good luck Naruto. I'll await the day we reunite so you can tell me of how you finished your story. Naruto looked down, rubbing the few tears that came to his eyes as he read what his sensei and godfather left him. Jiraiya, undoubtedly, was the biggest pervert ever, but he was a wise, caring man that Naruto cried for when he died. There would be no other person like Jiraiya in Naruto's life, not even his own father could compare to Jiraiya in Naruto's eyes. Placing the scroll back in his backpack, Naruto grabbed the next one. Naruto-kun, I can't express how proud of you I am because of the man you have become. I'll keep this short. In this scroll is my own personal, hand-sculpted tobacco pipe. I do not give this to you to smoke, though you may do so if you please. I give this to you because I don't want you to feel sad. You are in a new, unexplored world all alone, and even the mightiest worries have fallen to loneliness. I give you this pipe as an outsource to you pain. If you ever feel alone, smoke a bowl of tobacco, sit back and relax and know I have always been watching over you. The last item I have placed in here is my headband that I had worn since the first war. Good luck, Naruto, I'm proud of you. Naruto sighed, truly missing Hiruzen Sarutobi, his protector and the only man in the village, besides Tochi and Irika, to hold no hatred for him. He didn't need to worry about the health risk of smoking, his body would just heal itself anyways, and Naruto knew the Sandaime was right. He was already feeling lonely and it hadn't even been a day since he got here. Placing the scroll into the bag. Grabbing the last one with a letter, Naruto smiled. I'm guessing if you're reading this then you took up my offer, and have been sent to a new world. I have given you some materials I think you'll need in case you ever need something to conceal your identity, and you can't use a henge. In this scrolls are both my one-eyed masks from my time in the Akatsuki, and when I was masquerading as the Mizukage. Alongside my Akatsuki cloak, I have left you scrolls on how to use the Sharingan, how to use Genjutsu, Kamui, and some forbidden techniques just in case, and more disturbing things that I asked you don't question. Just know, they're spare in case you need them. Good luck from Obito. Deciding he didn't need to worry about the more disturbing things as Obito put it, Naruto looked to the last 8 scrolls. 1 red fire, 1 red water, 1 red earth, 1 red lightning, and 1 red wind. Those were scrolls on the 5 elements, and deciding to make 5 clones, Naruto had the clones each take a scroll and glance through everything. The last 3 scrolls were perishable food, Sharingan, and more Sharingan. Deciding he didn't want to know by what Obito meant with more Sharingan, Naruto placed all but 1 scroll in the bag, made a clone, and had it go read the Sharingan scroll. With that, Naruto walked over to the bed in his room and lay down, thinking about the events on what had happened. He had died, was brought back to life, got a job, found a way into the White Fang, and now had a home. It had been a good day, a bad day, a shitty day, and an awesome day. Knowing he had work at 11 in the morning, Naruto took off his goggles, sandals, and clothing, stripping down to his boxers, and closed his eyes as he laid in bed, intent on getting a good night of sleep. This was absolute and downright hell. Naruto, the newest, and only employee besides Tuxin, was so aggravated and bored, it was laughable. It had been a week since he arrived in Remnant, and not much had happened. Every day at 10:30, like any good employee, Naruto showed up at work to start his shift. He opened up shop, and set everything up the way Tuxin had showed him, and did absolutely nothing but sit at the front desk, and read a book. Reading, while not his favorite thing ever, was sadly the only thing he was permitted to do on the clock, so Naruto was forced to sit there, glancing through books, and familiarizing himself with everything in the store in case someone needed something. Luckily, his shift was now over since it was 3 o'clock, and Naruto had plans. His training had been good, and thanks to the scrolls Obito had given him, Naruto had started to work on his wind affinity, which he knew to be his main affinity, and his water affinity, which was his lesser affinity. The scrolls Obito had given Naruto didn't have much, but each had 1 D rank, 1 C rank, 1 B rank, 1 A rank, and 1 S rank jutsu, meaning he could possibly learn 25 new jutsu from the scrolls, but would first have to learn the water and wind first, because Obito said learning an affinity that isn't yours is hard, and it'd be pointless to waste time on learning jutsu he'll have a problem doing. When he could learn jutsu that'll be easier. In the week he had been in Remnant, he had managed to learn 2 wind-style jutsus, and 1 water-style jutsu. The thing Naruto had been working on the most was the Sharingan. Since Obito was right, it is a valuable tool that can be used. To have the Sharingan, and not use it would just be plain dumb. Unfortunately, Naruto didn't have that much progress with the Sharingan. Kamui was a no-go, and even though he had done exactly what Obito said to in Limbo, it just wasn't working. The only thing that had been figured out was how to do Genjutsu, which was simply thinking of what you wanted to happen, and make eye contact with someone, and Viola. That was pretty much the only progress he had made with the Sharingan, besides the predictability of seeing someone's attack. When he was younger, Naruto thought Kakashi and Sasuke could just see into the future, but he was wrong. Naruto could see when his clones' muscle tensed, and when they shot off, it was like a small insight of what was going to happen. The training had been good, and Naruto was proud with what he had done, but the greatest thing that had happened was Naruto finding out about the weapons this world had. It was, in simpler terms, awesome. He had never seen such intricate and deadly weapons, like a crossbow that turned into a sword that turned into a gun, which was something Naruto was finding awesome, as back home they didn't have guns, and even 2 tanto-like knives that combined together, and became a long sword. When Naruto found out about these weapons, he knew he needed one, but didn't know what to pick. Swords, and all of the other kind of weapons, were never his thing. They were more so Sasuke's, while Naruto preferred to just fight hand to hand, and then he had found them, the greatest weapons ever. A pair of dual-shot gauntlets that he had bought for 12,000 lin. They were orange and black gauntlets that covered his entire forearm on both sides, and were able to hold 20 rounds each. On the front near the hand cover, when activated, Naruto had the Uzumaki swirl carved and painted on. They were badass, and Naruto had named them both. His left-handed gauntlet was named Leaf while his right-arm gauntlet was named Swirl, to remember the ancient land of his ancestors that he had never seen, and to remember his home and everyone there. They were surprisingly easy to use, and required nothing but his punch to be fired. They were great, but also terrifying. If the people back home had weapons like that, the wars would have been a lot more gruesome and bloodier. Tuxin was a nice man, and didn't question the powers Naruto used in the one spar they had together. Naruto could tell the man wanted to ask, but there was a mutual agreement between them, no questions asked, no answers given. They had both worked in the bookshop, helped those that came in, and then went on with their lives. Tuxin was more worried about what he was going to do after Naruto helped him, while Naruto was silently freaking out, trying to uphold his end of the bargain. Naruto had found a few government offices, so he could create some fake IDs, but none of them had been the right one to go to. Naruto didn't want to let Tuxin down, so he kept looking, hoping to find the right place, because Tuxin was, in an essence, Naruto's saving light in this world so far. The man had given him a job, a home, lean in advance, was going to sign the store over to Naruto after he had helped, and even taught him about the White Fang, the members he knew of, and even how it ran. The meeting was still in a week, and Tuxin said he had started to talk to a few people, saying there was a powerful member that wanted to join that would be of great help, and Naruto was told he was wanted at the meeting by a man named Adam, who was one of the leaders of the White Fang. That was something that made Naruto frown. There was more than one leader, and if he joined and immediately a leader went missing, it could blow his cover. He needed to find a way to get most or all of the leaders in one spot, and use Kamui on them. When they were all gone and dead, Naruto would be able to rest easily at night, and continue on with his new life. He just couldn't turn a blind eye to those monsters though. He had everything planned out to, and was truly thankful for everything Obito had given him. Naruto was going to change his name, and hide away his looks so no one could possibly track him down, by using the orange swirl Akatsuki mask and hooded cloak Naruto now had in his possession, while using a beanie with holes in it to hide his blonde hair while always keeping the hood of his cloak up, so the White Fang couldn't track Naruto down after he left. It wasn't his style. Naruto was more so, a loud, boisterous, yell his name to the world and announce his presence kind of guy. Not a secretive, hide away his looks, and be the silent observant type that Obito had been in the Akatsuki when he was truly leading. It was for the best though, and Naruto would do it to make this world better. Though, Naruto only had about 6 months to complete his plans, as he heard the new year for Beacon started in 6 months, and Naruto still wanted to be a huntsman. A simple life was what he wanted, and to him, simple was fighting grim and being a badass. Walking up to the front door of his home, Naruto used his scroll, and opened the door. It was 3 o'clock at the moment, and it started to get dark at about 7 o'clock, meaning Naruto had 4 hours to finish what it was he needed. Then find a government office and find a way to make some fake identification for him and Tuxin, as they had already gone over everything the both of them would need. Releasing the seal on the back of his hand, Naruto took his backpack, and sat on his recliner, while looking for the scroll Obito had given him, and opened it with a poof of smoke. Naruto grinned as he saw the 2 masks of his former enemy, and decided to go with the orange mask with the sideways like flame, the same on Obito used to attack Konoha. Taking off his goggles, Naruto's 3-bladed MS hit the light for the first time in a while, and Naruto winced from the sudden attack of light, as he never truly had his goggles off besides nighttime. Placing the mask on his face, Naruto allowed the elastic band to wrap around his head. Taking an orange beanie with holes on the top, Naruto slid his horns through the beanie, and pulled it down over his head, hiding away any sign of blonde hair. He didn't want there to be any chance of him being identified, for either mission, and was making sure all of his body was hidden away. With that done, Naruto grabbed the infamous Akatsuki cloak with a hood, and slid his arms through the holes, then pulled it up, and put the hood on over the orange beanie, with his horns sliding through the holes on the top. With his mask on, the black shirt that went all the way up his neck on, and his cloak on, Naruto couldn't help but smirk. Naruto was completely hidden away, which was exactly what he was going for. His hands were covered by gloves, so Naruto finished off his look as he grabbed Leaf and Swirl, and placed them on his hands. Looking over to the clock hanging on his wall with his one eye through the eye hole, Naruto realized he had 30 minutes until he needed to leave. He had been surveying the area around his workplace, with the help of Tuxin's information, and knew about a couple jobs the White Fang were planning to complete. His plan was simple. He was going to attack them and take them down, to show his power, and then go to the meeting so they know he's a strong ally that they would need, and join them. It was unconventional, attacking someone you want to join, but he needed to prove that he had the power that they needed, and that he would be a huge asset. By the time the first act of his plan was complete, his second one would start. Naruto was breaking into his 3rd government building of the week. Hopefully it would be his last, and he was going to make him and Tuxin some fake files. He was going to break in, find out where they made the IDs, and make them. Naruto knew he would need to take out the cameras so he could take his picture, and take a picture of a henge clone for Tuxin's ID. Walking over to the mirror that Naruto had bought, he looked himself over and grinned under his mask. He certainly looked badass if he did say so himself. With everything properly set up, Naruto opened the window to his room, still not having figured out how to use Kemui, and made a giant leap as he landed on the corner of a building, using his chakra to stick, then climbed up the side and looked east. Tuxin said the White Fang members were robbing a train that was just south of his position, but he needed to head east, pass a small cafe, then run south until he came into contact with a forest line, and the train tracks would be a mile away from the ending of the tree line. It was roughly 3:35 at the moment, and the train was scheduled to pass at 4:10 exactly, when Naruto would jump on and wait for the lieutenant, Kuromi, a tiger faunus known as the blue blood of the White Fang, and roughly 20 lower-leveled grunts who would be easy picking. His job was easy: wipe the White Fang members out, non-lethally of course, then have Kuromi deliver a message to her bosses. Tuxin had reported Kuromi was one of 5 lieutenants of the White Fang, each who worked directly under a boss and manned their own faction of the White Fang, whose only job was to carry out jobs that'd benefit them. Taking off east, Naruto started to run as fast as he could, not worrying about someone seeing him as he was too fast for the untrained eye, and any huntsman or huntress that saw him, Naruto was sure he could easily outrun, or outmaneuver throughout the alleys, since Naruto knew the entire layout of Vale thanks to a map he had looked at. Just the prospect of a good fight was getting him pumped up as adrenaline was already rushing through his body. Since his death, Naruto hadn't had a good fight. Well, he hadn't even had a fight besides the spar with Tuxin, but it was more of a shadow box fight, where no moves actually connected. The prospect of taking on one of the 5 lieutenants of the White Fang, and seeing exactly where he stacked up against one was motivating and awesome. Naruto didn't want to get cocky though, as he had to remember this wasn't the elemental nations, and these people all had different powers and different weapons. He was strong in the war, but that was because he had the powers of the Sage of the Six Paths, and his shared chakra mode with Kurama, which he had neither of now. That's not saying Naruto wasn't strong though, he was confident, he just wasn't cocky and always knew, no matter what, there was going to be someone out there that was stronger than him. That would be a good day, because Naruto as of yet, had never truly lost a battle. Of course, he had lost to people, but it wasn't by much. Naruto had fought Orochimaru, at 16, and came out of the battle, which could be considered a draw, almost unscathed because of Kurama. Naruto had fought Neji, a Hyuga prodigy that was destined to win, and gave him a royal-ass beating. Hell, he had even fought Kurama, and won. The only time Naruto could ever say he had actually lost, was against Sasuke, but finding out Sasuke stopped his revolution's plans, Naruto still counted that as a win in his book. But now, in a new world, with the prospect of fighting people with immense power, maybe like a maiden if they were real, was truly exciting. Stopping as he landed on a roof, Naruto looked through his single-eye hole down at a small cafe that was on the second floor of a building, with an open patio, and took off again, this time going south until he ran into the train tracks. Tuxin had reported there were going to be people on board of the train, which meant no destructive moves for Naruto, so he was either going to have to use Swirl and Leaf and keep the fighting under control, or possibly get them off of the train, not wanting any civilians or innocent people to get hurt. It was a rather fancy train owned by a company called the Schnee Dust Company that recently took a hand in train travel, but were really using the trains as a way to escort their goods without people knowing. Apparently, the White Fang had found out, and were planning to steal all the dust on the train, which seemed to be something they were doing a lot recently, hitting up dust shops and shipment yards. Naruto would put a stop to them, give his message, and leave. Landing on a small dirt hill, Naruto looked up at the tree line, and smirked. The forest was his playground and he was certain there was no one here that could outmatch him in the forest. He was from Konoha, also known as the village hidden in the leaves, and from a young age was taught how to use the trees to his advantage. Pushing chakra into his legs, Naruto jumped up and landed on a tree branch, and continued with his journey. Naruto had possibly everything he could need for this mission: kunai, shuriken, his gauntlets, a written note for the White Fang, and everything he would need for his fake identification. Bursting out of the tree line, Naruto grinned as he kneeled on small grass hill he was on that would allow him to drop onto the train from above. It would be about 5 minutes until the train arrived, then the mission would be a go. But first, Naruto reached into his pocket and grabbed a scroll, which he opened to reveal another scroll. Making 3 shadow clones, Naruto turned to them and pointed to the scroll. You have about 4 minutes, gather some nature chakra and seal yourself away. Clone 3, when they're done search for me and you'll act as the summoner of the clones when I need the nature chakra. The clones nodded and sat down on the ground, in a lotus position, and started to meditate. The third clone right behind the 2, where he sat and started to wait. Naruto snapped his head right as he heard a horn blare throughout the clearing he was in, and looked over as smoke was rising up in the air, signifying the train was close. Naruto bent down, and sat on the edge of the small hill/cliff he was on, and waited for the passenger section of the train to pass, then pushed himself off of the cliff, and landed silently on the back section of the train. Looking around, Naruto walked over to the small space between 2 of the carts, and dropped on the small metal beam that connected the carts together, and tried to open the door, but it didn't budge. With a shrug, Naruto kicked the door open, not truly caring because the White Fang members would have to do the same, and walked in, only to stop. There was almost 20 at Legion Knight 130 standing in front of Naruto, with guns pointed in his direction. Naruto blinked, once, twice, thrice, then cursed as they opened fire, and he was forced to jump back out of the door. Looking over, Naruto cursed his luck, again, as the metal makings of the train started to give way, so he ran forward and jumped through the door of the cart behind him, and cursed his luck again, as another 20 AK-130s were pointing their advanced technology at him. You've got to be kidding me. First mission, and I run into this. This is like Nami no Kuni all over again. Naruto didn't get to finish as all 20 robots started to open fire, forcing Naruto back out of that cart, and onto the roof, his plan literally going to hell in less than 30 seconds. This was just fantastic, and Naruto could only curse whatever god felt like screwing with this life now. Landing on the top of the train, Naruto raised both of his hands, and punched down, which resulted in the two gauntlets to activate. The small, orange and black wristbands started to transform, and in less than 5 seconds, the gauntlets covered all the way up to his elbows. About 10 of the 40 AK-130s landed on the roof, with their guns pointed at Naruto. No chance we could possibly talk about this, fellows? Possibly over a cup of tea? Maybe take you all out to dinner? Naruto had to jump back as the A.Ks opened fire, making Naruto smirk. He wouldn't mind destroying some Atlas military tech, since they attacked first. Landing on the ground, Naruto pushed chakra into his legs and shot off like a rocket, and plowed his right fist through an A.K, releasing a shot, and blowing the head clean off in a spark of electrical wires and oil-like fluid. Not relenting, Naruto grabbed the body of the robot, and turned around, blocking a round of shots that was aimed at him, then used his strength and threw the A.K, knocking 5 of them off the train, resulting in them landing on the ground. Knowing that more were going to jump up and attack, Naruto cocked his hand back, and let off a shot that connected with the chest of one of the A.Ks, but it didn't do anything but momentarily stun the bot. Naruto was sent back as a shot hit his chest, and rolled across the train, almost falling off the edge. Managing to use his chakra to stick to the top, Naruto sprung forward and aimed a kick at one of the robot's mechanic head, but frowned as the kick was blocked by surprising strength from the robot. Grabbing the robot by its head, Naruto twisted hard and pulled the head off, then used it as a baseball and threw it at another robot, but the head only bounced off, and Naruto was forced to run as all the A.Ks opened fire, with a few shots hitting Naruto in the legs or arms, but not truly hitting anywhere vital. The wounds would heal, so Naruto wasn't truly worried as he ran to the end of the cart, did a handstand while using chakra to stick to the cart, then swing around and brought his legs down on the door of the cart, and flipped into the room. Both doors were now blown off the hinges, and Naruto was in the closed confinement with 29 of the A.Ks. This worked better for him though. Naruto had found out the A.Ks were programmed to never attack each other, with being worth a lot of money to make, so Naruto jumped, and landed right in the middle of all the bots, and started to throw punches and kicks, trying to do whatever he could to take down the bots. Grabbing a kunai, Naruto blocked an attack from an A.K that tried to pistol whip him, and drove the kunai into the mechanical bot's neck, and yanked it out with a slice, stopping the bot in its track. There were still a lot of robots around, and Naruto needed to finish them quickly, lest he miss his chance at attacking the White Fang that would be landing on the train any minute. The way Naruto saw it, he had two options: try his hand at defeating all of the A.Ks by himself and possibly miss his chance, or use the explosion tag he had learned how to make and blow of the conjoining metal, separating the train. Naruto decided the latter, as he couldn't miss this chance, and started to run through hand signs for the latest jutsu he learned. Wind style, gale force palm blowing away most of the A.Ks, with some flying out the door and being ran over by the train while others just rolled and hit the ground. Naruto jumped back and reached into his back left pocket, pulling out 3 folded explosion tags. Jumping back with a grin, Naruto stopped on the platform behind him, and saluted to the robots he didn't know were actually recording him. Ladies, gentlemen, let this be the day you'll remember as the day you almost caught Captain Nato Namikaze. Naruto jumped into the air, while also dropping the 3 explosion tags, and held his left hand up in a half-ram seal. With the explosion rocking the whole train, Naruto was sent flying back from the pressure, and slid along the top of the train, but used his chakra to stop him. Standing up with a grin, Naruto nodded. Nato Namikaze, I like it. I'm such a badass. Naruto thought the name was awesome, and even though it was a name he randomly came up with, Naruto couldn't help but smirk. Obito had become Tobi, which was still all the same letters of his name, while Naruto took out the Ru of Naruto, and became Nato. It was simplistic, but no one would ever put 2 and 2 together and guess Naruto was Nato. Completely unaware of the government officials that had just watched an entire train cart full of Atlas military tech, who were now sending back UPS to arrest Naruto. Be destroyed, Naruto turned around and decided waiting inside the carts weren't the best thing, and that he'd just wait on top. Just as he thought that, Naruto sighed as 40 White Fang grunts landed on the cart, with a woman in the front. The woman was beautiful, that much was for sure. She had shaggy black hair that reached to the middle of her back, with orange-colored eyes, as well as orange, black, and white eyeliner around her eyes. She was wearing a skimpy-looking black tank top that covered nothing but her belly button, while everything else was on display for the world to see. She was also wearing really short yoga shorts that really hid nothing away, with an orange, black, and white colored tail coming from her back, and combat-like boots on her feet. On her left hip was a kodachi, and slung across her back was a crossbow. Naruto smirked as he looked the woman over, and decided to go into his Nato mode. Hello. Nato's a good boy. You must be Kuromi. Naruto finished off his short speech that was yelled by holding his right arm over his head, the palm facing down, while his left hand was on his hip, which was sticking out because of Naruto leaning more to the side, while Naruto's head was flung back in a dramatic, theatrical-like display that made most of the members' sweat drop. So you know who I am, do you, good boy? Kuromi giggled as she hid her mouth behind her hand, and walked up to Naruto, only to run a finger down his Akatsuki cloak. Naruto frowned on the inside of his mask. This woman was either overconfident, and didn't view Naruto as a threat, or she had the power to back up her overconfidence. Something made Naruto believe it was the latter, since she was one of 5 lieutenants. Hi. You're Kuromi. And I'm Nato. Pleasure to meet you. Naruto stuck out his hand, wondering if the woman would take it, and was surprised when she softly wrapped her hand around Naruto's and shook it. Naruto, wondering why the woman was being so friendly when she most likely just watched him blow the train up, decided to discreetly ask her, "Why are you being so nice to Nato?" Naruto crossed his arm over his head, while clutching his heart with his other hand, almost like he was in pain, and continued, "Nato's been a bad boy. I found some mini robots, and they went kaboom. Now Nato's sad." Kuromi smiled as she walked to the other side of the train cart, over where the grunt members were, and Naruto was surprised to see it was a kind smile, not the sort of smile he expected to be on someone called the blue blood of the White Fang. "Well, Nato, I'm being nice because it's simple really. I'm going to let you die happily for taking care of those A.K-130s for us." Naruto's eye widened under his mask as he ducked under a sword strike from the woman, not even being able to follow her with his Sharingan, as she seemed to just vanish then reappear right in front of him. Naruto punched his hands towards the ground, and both leaf and swirl activated, with the sounds of gears grinding, and in less than 5 seconds the 2 orange and black gauntlets covered Naruto's arms completely under his cloak. Naruto grinned, happy at the prospect of fighting the blue blood of the White Fang. Grabbing a kunai from the inside of his cloak, Kuromi and Naruto seemed to stare each other down for a second, but when a leaf had fallen on the train, the two shot off like rockets, with Kuromi bringing her sword around to stab Naruto in the neck, while Naruto used leaf to block the attack, and swirled to fire a shot off that hit Kuromi in the face. Not relenting whatsoever, Naruto ran towards the slightly dazed Tiger Faunus, and started to throw a barrage of punches and kicks that she was barely able to dodge. Finally, Naruto saw an opening, and used it to his advantage as he jumped up, placed his hand on Kuromi's head, and then fell to the ground, while slamming Kuromi's head down, thanks to her being stuck to Naruto's hand. The whole cart shook from the impact, and Naruto jumped back, wondering if she was going to stay down, but when she didn't, Naruto smirked. Kuromi placed her katana in its scabbard, and bent her knees, so Naruto looked at her legs, and right once he saw the tensing muscles start to go slack, he brought his foot up, while leaning back, and kicked Kuromi in the stomach, the force of the attack sending her flying backwards. But luckily she had managed to stay at the train, and not fall off. Naruto made a clone, and jumped into the air, then used the clone as a springboard and shot off towards Kuromi, tackling her to the ground again, and rolling a few times. Naruto kicked up his feet, while Kuromi spun elegantly and landed on her feet, causing the Tiger Faunus to smirk. Bringing her sword around again, Kuromi tried to slice Naruto's head off, but when it dodged, she let go of her sword for a second, switched to backhand, and tried again, only for Naruto to dodge her attack with practiced ease, pissing her off. Every time Kuromi swiped left, it would get close, but Naruto would move at the last second. Every time Kuromi tried to stab him, it would get close, only for him to spin around it, almost like he was toying with her. Damn it! Stop moving, sugar! Kuromi's sword lit up red for a second, and then shot out a stream of fire as she added dust to it, and Naruto was forced to jump over the attack, lest he get burned, and that's when he realized that's what Kuromi wanted to happen. Looking towards the woman, Naruto crossed his arms over his chest in an X-like shape just as Kuromi's boot connected with his arms, and Naruto was sent flying into the train, and through the roof. Even though his mind was a little fuzzy from the impact, Naruto could see the people on train, and knew they were about to freak out. With Kuromi landing right in front of him, Naruto decided to not worry about the people, and brought his legs around, swiping Kuromi's out from under her, and dropping her to the ground. Jumping back up, Naruto cocked leaf and swirled back, and started to fire off shots as he moved closer to Kuromi, who started spinning her sword and deflecting the bullets. The people in the train were on the ground, making sure they weren't caught in the crossfire, even though Naruto's attacks would only bruise them, as he was using rubber bullets. Once he was close enough, Naruto sent a punch to Kuromi's head, but she moved it to the side, so Naruto elbowed her in the jaw with his retreating arm that caused her to spin around. Kicking the back of her knee, Naruto gripped Kuromi around the waist and lifted her up, then brought her down on a table full of champagne bottles. The bottles shattered, and the liquid was sent everywhere, drenching those around, like a 17-year-old girl with long white hair and a sideways ponytail wearing the Shinii family logo. Naruto didn't pay the girl any mind though, as he jumped back up and waited to see what Kuromi would do, When she started to move, Naruto got into a fighting stance and waited, wondering if that was all the tiger faunus could take, and if these lieutenants of the White Fang were just over-glorified grunt members, of if they could take a beating and dish one out, because Naruto was truly wishing for a good fight, and right now, this was getting boring. Kuromi got up, her shirt, which still surprisingly covered her, was in tatters, and her glare directed towards Naruto was screaming bloody murder. If looks could kill, Naruto knew he'd be dead. Sidestepping a swipe from Kuromi again, Naruto brought his leg around for a kick, and was surprised when Kuromi ducked under it. But the second Naruto's foot connected with the ground, Naruto was kicked in a spot that made all the men on board wince and cover themselves. Naruto squeaked, and started to hop from foot to foot, trying to get the pain to go away from his stinging testicles, while also dodging attacks from Kuromi. And once the pain was dulled enough, Naruto brought his hand around and put as much strength as possible into the punch that connected with her chest, causing her to flying back an indent in the wall. Not relenting, Naruto made a clone, and used it as a springboard, then launched himself at Kuromi, and tackled her through the cart of the train they were in, into another, where they continued their fight. Jumping back, Naruto started to run through hand signs, then spat out 3 water ball bullets that cut through Kuromi's skin like it was a hot knife to butter, drawing blood. Jumping forward, Naruto punched the dazed Kuromi right in the jaw, spun around on his heel and backhanded her, then grabbed her by the hair and brought her nose down on his knee. Not stopping there though, Naruto lifted the fallen woman back up by the neck, tightened his hold, then slammed her against the cart's wall, and knocked the air out of her by kneeing her in the gut. It was ruthless, and not Naruto style, but it needed to be done. He needed to show the White Fang their power. Dropping the now bloodied and heavily breathing White Fang member to the floor, Naruto started to walk away, wondering if she would get up, and wasn't surprised when an arrow flew right by his head. She's resilient, I'll give her that. Saying it low enough so no one heard with, Naruto turned back around, but raised an eyebrow at what was happening. Kuromi's nails were getting longer, and sharper, her eyes were glowing slightly, and her hair was becoming shaggy and messed up, giving her a more beastly look, like a feral Inuzuka. Naruto's eyes widened as he didn't even see the enraged tiger faunus muscle tense as she shot off, and it was only by luck that Naruto was able to duck under the swipe of the nails that was trying to take his neck clean off of his body. Ducking, weaving, and leaning back, Naruto was just blocking the attacks that were sent at him as Kuromi attacked like a vicious animal that was mad. Which she was. Nato was a dead man, and she was going to kill him for mocking her, when she had worked hard to get where she was today, but this new guy, wannabe criminal, was treating her like a kid, like she was nothing but dirt beneath his feet, and she would kill him for it. Yelling out in rage as she jumped forward, Kuromi sent a kick towards Naruto's head, but he put up his arm and blocked it, then caught her leg. With her leg now trapped, Kuromi could do nothing but hop on her foot as she started into the mask of her opponent. Bad move, Kuromi. Nato's going to hurt you bad. Kuromi's eyes widened. The Nato she had come to know was a childish-sounding man that only seemed to be playing around, but this was like someone entirely new. Kuromi screamed as Naruto started to spin her around and threw her back up into the air, through the roof, and into the sky. Naruto crouched down on his legs, then shot through the open hole of the roof he just made. Reaching the tiger faunus, Naruto wrapped his arms around her, and quickly started to spin on his decent back towards the train. And right before Naruto and Kuromi connected with the metal roof, Naruto pushed off and allowed Kuromi to fly back through the roof as he stood there. Boss, I have the nature chakra ready. Naruto turned around towards his clone that had been tasked with bringing him the clones that had gathered nature energy, and nodded. Walking over towards the newest hole of many on the train, Naruto looked into it, and saw that Kuromi was still down on the ground. Any problems gathering it? The clone shook his head, but frowned on the inside, something Naruto picked up on. The nature energy here is different, boss. We can absorb it, but when we connect to the life around us, all of it's screaming at us to kill the humans. It's like, even the energy around wants the people dead. Naruto raised an eyebrow, as he never had that problem before, not even back home, but shrugged his shoulders, and turned back to the hole in the cart, and saw Kuromi standing on wobbly legs. Release a clone so I can absorb the nature energy. The clone nodded and laid the scroll down as Naruto was watching Kuromi through the hole in the roof. She was bleeding badly, but that wasn't what Naruto was looking at. It was her blood, more so the color of her blood. Blood was supposed to be red, not blue, and even though people thought blood red-blue until it hit the air, was wrong, as the veins inside of bodies are blue. But for some reason, Kuromi had blue blood dripping down her face, arms, and neck, making Naruto narrow his eyes. Naruto stiffened for a second as his body took in the nature energy of Remnant, and he had to agree with his clone. The energy here was screaming, almost begging for the humans and faunus to be killed, like they had done something to piss Mother Nature off, and now Mother Nature was fighting back. Naruto couldn't see it, but his three-bladed MS changed and now had a toad-like pupil that was a bar that swirled into the 3 blades of his MS, while around Naruto's eye was a black, no longer orange, pigmentation. Even though nature seemed to be calling out to Naruto, as this world had never had a sage before, Naruto smiled sadly as he looked at the trees and vowed to help the world return to how it wanted to be. Naruto let his eyes roam back down to Kuromi, only for them to widen at the state she was in. She had gotten buff, and Naruto could see why, She was absorbing the blue blood back into her body, not her veins, and it was acting as an enhancement, making Kuromi's muscles bulge. She had gotten bigger, but there was still a certain litheness to her that made Naruto believe she had also got fasted. Naruto looked over at his clone, and nodded, silently telling him to stay on standby in case Naruto needed him, then dropped down into the hole, and landed right by Kuromi, and put on his NATO mode. Whoa! That's so cool, Kuromi! You've got. Naruto's eyes bulged from his head, not even having a chance to finish what he was saying, as Kuromi moved so quickly, so precisely, and delivered a punch to Naruto's stomach that sent him flying from the economy section of the train they were in, through the middle of the train, past the first class, and into the railroad conductor's room as he was keeping the train on track. Naruto frowned, and silently berated himself for dropping his guard like that, and kicked up, landing on his feet. Cocking both his gauntlets back, Naruto ran forward, and met Kuromi halfway, with each of them throwing a punch, and just when it seemed both of them were about to miss, Naruto released some nature chakra through his arm, and punched Kuromi right in the cheek. Not ending there, Naruto threw a kick that connected with the buffer girl's jaw, then used his momentum to swing around and backhand her with his metal gauntlets. Naruto went for another kick, but Kuromi caught his leg in the air, swung him around, and released him, sending him straight into the wall, and almost out of the train if it wasn't for Naruto sticking to the side with his chakra. Naruto crawled on top of the train, and started to take silent steps, while using his chakra to reach out and try to sense Kuromi. Just as he thought he found her, Kuromi burst through the metal roof with her katana in hand, and Naruto was forced to lean back slight, while also cocking his knee back. Then knee her when her body was halfway through the roof, at knee level, that sent her flying through the roof even more, ripping a large section of it out. Naruto bent down, almost like a fox, and sent chakra to his arms and legs, then pushed backwards, digging into the metal roofing, then shot off again, and cocked his arm back. Kuromi shook her head, getting rid of all the cobwebs, and wiggled her toes, as her body felt numb. Her lower body was stuck in the inside of the train, while her upper body was on the outside of the train. Turning around to find Naruto, Kuromi's eyes widened as she saw a fist just mere inches for her chin. Naruto's punch landed directly under Kuromi's chin. As changing course quickly, Naruto launched her high into the air, and made a few shadow clones. One shadow clone grinned as it used another, and launched itself into the air, kicking Kuromi up even higher. A second clone that had been right behind the first used its brother clone as a springboard, and landed an axe kick on Kuromi that sent her right towards an awaiting third clone to kick Kuromi back from where she came from, almost like a pinball into the last clone that Naruto had made. The last clone grinned under his mask as he kicked Kuromi up, who could do nothing but turn her body and look up towards the sky, near the rising shattered moon and the body that was blocking it, and could only close her eyes as a swirling blue ball hit her dead in the chest. Namikaze's barrage, Lion's Rasengan. Kuromi, for a final time, was sent flying through the train of the roof, and hit the hard marble flooring of the inside of the train, while Naruto landed silently on the top of the train, and looked around. There were holes everywhere. One part of the roofing had been peeled away. The back portion of the train, where Naruto had dropped his explosion, was completely missing, with one train cart only being half complete. Naruto was sure there was more damage on the inside, like shattered windows, cracked flooring, broken tables, injured people, but he couldn't worry about that. Naruto dropped down through a hole and grabbed Kuromi's broken and battered form that had returned to normal, and Naruto slung her over his shoulder, looking towards the people of the train, and waved, "Pip pip toodaloo." With that, Naruto jumped to the top of the train, leaving the confused and scared customers of the train alone. While Naruto gently placed Kuromi down, Naruto stood over her prone body for a second, and frowned. It had been a fun fight, and somewhat difficult, making Naruto wonder how powerful the leaders of the White Fang would be. With a sigh, Naruto reached into his cloak and grabbed the note he had written for the leaders, and the pencil that was in his pocket, and opened the note up. Erasing out from the masked man, Naruto rewrote it to say from Nato Namikaze and then neatly placed the note in Kuromi's waistline. With that done, Naruto made 10 clones of himself, with the orders of taking care of all the grunt members however they felt like. He would do it himself, but pushing chakra into his ears, Naruto could hear sirens rapidly approaching, something he didn't like, so he grabbed Kuromi bridal style and waited for the perfect moment to jump off the train. When a ledge passed by, Naruto jumped, sticking his feet out first, and clung to the wall of dirt using his feet, and started to walk up it. He knew exactly where he was, and the sirens coming were most likely going to reach them with a minute, because the police station was 4 miles to the north of Naruto. Damn it! I can't let her get arrested. She needs to give them my note, but I can't truly take her with me. I need to find somewhere to drop her off. Looking up into the sky, Naruto grinned as he realized it was getting dark, meaning his second plan of attack was slated to start soon, probably another hour. Perfect amount of time to get Kuromi to a safe spot, and then continue without fear of ruining a chance of joining the White Fang because he got a lieutenant arrested. Jumping into the tree lines of the forest, Naruto hoisted Kuromi on his back to make it easier to run, and took off again, his arms flung back, while also holding her, and reaching the end of the tree line in no time. Something, Naruto noted, was a huge mistake as he dropped out of the trees to see over 20 squadrons of police cars, police motorcycles, militaristic robots with guns, and even some huntsmen and huntresses if the weapons he saw were any indication. Naruto stopped for a few seconds, and severely cursed whatever god had screwed him over again. Halt! Stop where you are and set the faunus down. You are under arrest for attempted robbery of the Schnee Dust Company Dust. Breaking and entering. And grand theft train. Do not move or we will fire. Naruto placed his hands up, not liking the situation, and he immediately started to think, wondering about a backup plan. He still couldn't figure out Kamui, so that was a no-go. He could try to run, but there was at least 10 huntsmen and huntresses that would give chase, and while Naruto was sure he could outrun them, it'd be easier for them to box him in and force a drawn-out fight that'd just attract more attention and more huntsmen. Casting a glance over his shoulder at Kuromi, Naruto knew he couldn't get arrested, or everything he had been planning would go to the gutter. Naruto frowned as over 10 men started to walk towards them, and Naruto knew he had only one choice. Naruto started to make eye contact with the men, and was placing them in genjutsu, to make it seem like Naruto was their boss, and their actual bosses were the enemy. Genjutsu Sharingan. The men, who now thought they were pointing guns at their bosses, turned away from Naruto, and pointed back at their people and opened fire. Naruto smirked as he ran forward, and vaulted over all the cars and people, and landed on the ground, taking off in a run. Naruto didn't even chance a look back as he could hear the footsteps of at least 10 people following him, which was bad. He didn't need another fight, it would just bring more people around, and Naruto's chances of escape would go down, something he didn't need to happen. Using chakra, Naruto made a giant leap and landed on the side of the building, and ran up it, where he landed on the top, only to take off again. He was about 10 miles away from the government office, meaning he would need to lead them away, just in case he set off some type alarm that alerted people. He would need time to make his things and get away. Hoping from roof to roof, Naruto turned around and counted 9, not 10, people giving chase, all of them most likely huntsmen, with a few huntresses. Kuromi, at the worst possible time, started to groan as she was coming to, and Naruto cursed it out loud, and waited for the bomb that was about to drop, but didn't stop his getaway. Kuromi came to, and started to look around as her head was pounding because of the headache Naruto gave her, but when she saw where she started to struggle, making Naruto yell at her, "Stop struggling! Nato's getting you to safety!" Naruto ducked under a metal beam that was between 2 buildings, and dropped to the ground below, hoping to lose them in the back alleys. Kuromi stopped struggling for a second, and looked behind her, only to see the huntsmen and huntresses giving chase, making her eyes widened. What the hell, sugar? What happened? And why are you helping me? She wouldn't admit it, but Naruto was her saving light at the moment because with her headache, she was sure she wouldn't be able to run properly, or get away from the huntsmen. Nato doesn't want you to get arrested, silly head. Nato only beat you up to show how manly he is. Naruto pulled his arm forward and flexed it, then realized how wrong his last statement just sounded. Also, Nato wants you to deliver a message to your bosses. Kuromi, knowing she had no other choice, nodded along, deciding to let Nato do whatever the crazy man that acted like a kid do. Turn me around, sugar. I can help. Naruto nodded, and using his hands that were under Kuromi's legs, flipped her into the air, then caught her, with her now in front of him, their bodies pressed together, and Kuromi's arms around both sides of Naruto's head. Kuromi grabbed her bow, and started to let off shots, trying to slow down the professional grim killers. Naruto was the pilot, and Kuromi was the gunner, something that worked for Naruto since he only had to worry about dodging the attacks sent at them, and finding a way to get away. Naruto flipped over a trash can, but placed a hand on it and threw it down, hoping it'd help him a little bit, but turning around Naruto cursed as a huntsman appeared in front of him. Running forward, Naruto pulled out a kunai, and clashed it against the man's axe that also looked like a gun. Kuromi! Hold on, Nato has problems. Kuromi turned around and saw the handlebar mustache-wearing huntsman and nodded, then went back to firing shots at the other huntsmen to keep them away while Nato held off his opponent. Naruto ran forward, and clashed kunai to axe, then lifted his leg up and kicked the older man in the stomach, sending him sliding back. Not giving up, Naruto ran through a long stream of hand signs, and blew the older man away. Wind style, gale force palm. Running forward, Naruto sent his kunai into the older man's leg, dropping him to the ground, stealing his heart. As he was inflicting damage to people who were only trying to help the world, Naruto landed on the side of a building and started to run. Reaching into his pocket, and grabbing his last explosion tag, Naruto slapped it on the ledge of the building he was on and took off in a run, while holding a half-rammed seal. I'm sorry, an explosion shook the entire building with chunks of rock and metal falling down below, holding the huntsman back for a few seconds. Just enough time for Naruto to place his hand on Kuromi's back, and place the both of them in a genjutsu, and drop to the alley below. Setting the tiger faunus down, Naruto smirked. It was fun playing Kuromi. Nato wants to do it again. Naruto turned around and started to walk away, under his disguise of one, Sasuke Uchiha, but stopped when Kuromi called him. Wait. Sugar. Why do you want me to give a message to my bosses from you? Naruto turned around and saluted with the wrong hand, and grinned. Nato wants to change the world. Vouch for Nato, will you? Seeing the hesitant nod from the White Fang lieutenant, Naruto turned around and walked off, needing to be other places at the moment, like the government official's office that'd take him about 20 minutes to reach. As Naruto walked down the streets, under his Sasuke disguise as to make sure the huntsmen have no chance of finding him, Naruto grinned as he saw the dusty, but not to hurt, huntsmen run by, trying to find the man they just passed. Knowing it'd be best to just walk the distance, and not adorn his mask and cloak again, Naruto started to look around, smiling and waving to people that he passed by, human and faunus alike, and just enjoyed the cool night's air that washed over his disguised body. If everything went well, and this was the right place, Naruto was going to create the I.Ds, give everything to Tuxin, and then fake his death. And Tuxin was going to sign the shop over to Naruto, and give him 500,000 lien, like they had talked about. Hopefully, Tuxin would be leaving tomorrow morning. If everything went well, Naruto would technically be rich and the owner of a bookstore, and hopefully a part of the White Fang by the end of the week. Tuxin, who didn't know how Naruto was going to help him, was shown the shadow clone jutsu and the henge, which Naruto used to make a dead-looking Tuxin, that he was going to use as the body to show the White Fang that he took out a traitor. Now, everything just needed to fall into place. Walking into another alleyway, Naruto hid himself behind a building and unsealed his backpack full of scrolls, and grabbed Obito's. Making sure no one was around to see him, Naruto unsealed the scroll and grabbed the scroll that held Obito's clothing, and unsealed everything. Taking his hood off, Naruto also took the orange beanie off, and then slid off the flame design-like mask. Grabbing the orange swirl mask that Obito worked during his time in the Akatsuki, Naruto placed it on his head, and slid his orange beanie on, and made sure all of his blonde hair was pushed into the beanie, showing nothing. Taking off the infamous Akatsuki cloak, Naruto grabbed the plain black cloak with the purple inside the Obito had worn when he attacked Konoha, and placed it on his body. Pulling the hood up and over his head, Naruto made sure nothing was showing by making a shadow clone, and nodded to himself. He didn't want to wear the same thing for a different job, it was just how he was trained. Anytime you do more than one job in a day, change your attire, make sure no one knows you're the same person, and don't use the same disguise for a long time so that character's wanted level has time to die down. Going on to the next part, Naruto frowned, and realized how much of a hassle his horns would be to hide. Wearing his disguise, his horns would be a dead giveaway that he was Naruto and Nato, and knew he needed a way to disguise them when he was Naruto, and a way to disguise them when he was Nato. Making a shadow clone, Naruto unsealed the scroll, and threw it to the clone who knew what to do. The clone unsealed the contents in the scroll, and motioned for Naruto to kneel down, which he did so. Grabbing the can of paint that was unsealed, and the paintbrush, the clone opened the can and dipped the brush in, coating the fine horse hairs in black paint. It was a simple disguise, but no one would think Naruto was Nato with the different colored horns, as he'd have deniability. The paint was sweat-proof, waterproof, and heat-proof, so he didn't need to worry about it washing away. Running the brush over the horns, the ash-white bone protrusions started to turn black, and within 2 minutes, the clone was done. Sealing away the paint and brush into the scroll, the clone handed it to Naruto, then ran through hand seals as Naruto used chakra to stick to the ground. The clone hit Naruto with a gale force palm, instantly drying the paint to the horns, and disappeared in a plum of smoke. I need to make sure no one figures out Naruto can do shadow clones, because if people start getting suspicious, I can use a clone version of Nato and fight it, making people see I'm not him. It would work, because he'd essentially be fighting himself. He'd know how to dodge his own attacks, as to make sure the clone wouldn't pop and people could see Naruto wasn't Nato. Deciding to worry about his masked personality later, and what could happen because of his damn horns that were more of a hassle than anything, Naruto hopped onto the roof of a building and shot off, making sure he was moving his fastest so no one saw him, and if they did, making sure no one had a chance to catch up to him. The run wasn't a long one, and it took him about 10 minutes to make it to the building that looked to be crawling with A.K-130s, guards, and cameras everywhere. Naruto frowned as he looked everything over, and realized with how well fortified the building was, it most likely meant this was the right place. It made sense to guard the building where someone could essentially break in, and create whole new identification, and have a clean slate, and not have to worry about being arrested if they were ever pulled over for something as simple as a traffic stop. The bad thing about this though, was how to get in without being followed and having the entire building shut down from an alarm, which meant Naruto had to get in silently without being seen or heard from a guard, and possibly the cameras. Naruto sighed, he would have to find the control room, knock out whoever was possibly on the inside, shut off all the cameras in case an outside source was watching, and then find the room where he could make everything. What to do? What to do? Creating a shadow clone, Naruto realized he should have taken his training with Jiraiya more serious, and learned the hiding with camouflage technique, because this would have been so much simpler if he knew the technique. With 100 thoughts running through his dense head, Naruto took a seat, and started to watch how the guards moved. I'll watch for 20 minutes, see how they move, and when I know I have a chance to get into the air vent, I'll take it. It was simple recon etiquette. When watching subjects, watch how they move, learn what they do, and see the pattern in which each one walked. With his Sharingan activated, 20 minutes would be enough time to learn their entire routine. Making 3 shadow clones, Naruto instructed them to do the same thing, with 1 clone guarding each side of the building, learning where all the cameras are, how the guards move, and anything else Naruto should know, then to pop after 20 minutes to return all the information to Naruto. So, for 20 minutes Naruto just sat there, and let his Sharingan record everything he saw, and Naruto realized, the guards and A.Ks were more for show, than actually guarding. The patterns they used were simple, but left open spaces for Naruto to get in, and do what he needed to do. There was a total of 5 human guards, with 1 stationed on each side of the building, while 1 just walked around, looking for anything, meaning Naruto could easily hop down, knock a guard out, hide the body, and then use a henge to look like him. The guard that walked around circled the building every 2 minutes, but he wasn't the problem, the A.Ks were. There was a total of 13 at Legion Knight 130s protecting the building. 1 A.K 130 always stood next to a guard, while 2 would stand 15 feet away, facing left and right, having an entire strip of the building locked down, with an extra A.K 130 that circled the building, walking the opposite direction of the human guard, that circled the building every 30 seconds. With cameras on each end of the fence that surrounded the building, if Naruto could get past those, he'd only have to worry about the cameras on top of the building that pointed down at the guards. This is going to be a lot harder than I thought it would be. Really should have listened to Ero-Sennin. Naruto hummed in thought, trying to figure out the best way to get in. He couldn't destroy the cameras. That could possibly alert an outside source, or someone on the inside if someone was left to watch the camera feed and call for backup in case something happened. I doubt there'd be an entrance on top. It'd be almost easy to get in since there's no cameras facing that way. There is an air vent on the north end of the building, but the cameras would see me get in through it. Damn it! Think Naruto. Okay, I have 2 options, go for the air vent, and hope there's no one on the inside that sees me do it, or henge as another guard, and tell the one by the door that he's been relieved and that I'm taking over. But there's still a problem there. I don't know if one of them is a captain that controls the guard shift. This was a lot more complicated than Naruto thought, as the last 2 buildings he had simply walked into through the front door since there was no guards, and the only cameras that were there left spaces open for someone to hide when they turned to scan the hallways. He was at a loss on what to do, and was about to give up and try another night when he had it more planned out, when he saw one of the guards leaving their position. The guard walked around to the front, and confirmed Naruto's hunch. The man in front of the door was the captain. Using his Sharingan to see what was being said, Naruto smirked and got ready to intercept the man. Captain, I'ma go take a leak outside, don't want the cameras seeing my lil friend Yano? Naruto could see the captain grunt, as the guard walked off, and left through the open fence. Hoping from one building to another, Naruto made sure he stayed in the shadows, and looked towards the cameras. The man had walked away from the building, and was now taking a leak on the side of a small store, which was perfect for Naruto since there was no cameras. Using chakra to stick to the side of the building, Naruto slowly started to descend on the unsuspecting man, and waited until he was right over the man to flip off, and land silently behind him. Waiting a few seconds, as he didn't want to humiliate the guy, Naruto let the guard finish peeing, and zip up his zipper only to slap a hand over the guard's mouth, and shove his gauntlet-covered arm over the man's neck. The guard started to squirm, so Naruto applied more pressure, stopping the man in his tracks. Comply with what I say, and I'll let you live. Don't do what I say, and I'll kill you, do you understand? The guard nodded frantically, and Naruto grinned, knowing the guard would tell him what he needed to know. I'm trying to get into that building without being caught. I need some things. What would be the best way to get in without being caught? I'm going to move my hand, but if you scream I'll shove a knife in your throat. Naruto released a little bit of killing intent on the man to emphasize his point, and slowly moved his hand away. The air vents. There's a man on the inside that sits in the control room. He has access to the cameras, locked doors, and the control panel that operates the power of different sectors. Every night at 8 o'clock he leaves to smoke a cigarette out front, leaving the room unguarded for almost 10 minutes. Naruto grinned under his mask, but realized he didn't have a watch on him to tell the exact time. Your scroll, where is it? And where's the control room? The man tried to reach into his pocket, but Naruto put more pressure on his neck and growled, scaring the man ever more. Don't make any sudden movements, or you'll never live to tell of this story. Is it in your pocket? The man nodded his head, since Naruto had his mouth covered, so Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out the small, thin white scroll in the man's pocket, and pocketed it. Naruto realized he should have brought his but didn't want to take a chance of losing it since his had his name painted on it. Now tell me where the control room is. Naruto moved his hand, but kept it hovering over the man's mouth in case he tried to scream, and let him talk. T-top floor, on the U-wing corridor, the door says control room on it. Naruto grinned at the information, this becoming so much easier because of the man who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Moving on to his next part of business, Naruto asked his next question. Is this the building where I can make a new I.D for myself? Like a fake I.D? The man nodded his head, and Naruto moved his hand again, indicating he could talk. Why yes, sir. On the floor just below the control room, 5th door on the right, directly across from the elevator. But if you do that, it'll show the last entry on the C computer's database. Naruto frowned, and realized he should have saved at least one explosion tag to destroy the room, but knowing there was nothing he could do about it, Naruto continued on with his interrogation. "What's your name?" Naruto moved his hand, and the man squeaked out his name. "Vermilion, sir." Naruto nodded, and even though Sil couldn't see it, Naruto sent the man a look that said "I'm sorry," moving his arm away from the guard's neck. Naruto grabbed him by the helmet and slammed Sil's head into the concrete wall a few times to 1. Break the helmet that was protecting him, and 2. Knock him out. When Sil dropped to the ground unconscious, Naruto looked the man over in the front, then flipped him over and looked him over in the back and recorded everything he saw. Making a shadow clone, Naruto nodded to the clone that used the henge to look exactly like Vermilion. Looking down at the scroll in his hands, Naruto opened it, then nodded to himself. "Go stand guard and make sure nothing happens. At exactly 8 when the camera guy comes out, say you have to use the bathroom again, and place the guy in a genjutsu that'll make him feel like he has the runs, so it'll force him into the bathroom. If there's any developments like I was figured out or something, pop and inform me." The clone nodded, and left, leaving Naruto, who grabbed Sil and pulled him behind a trash can. Biting his thumb, Naruto drew blood from his finger, and started to write a seal on the back of Sil's neck, a gravity seal, that'd disappear within the hour. Solidifying the liquid blood, Naruto picked Sil up, and placed him in an empty trash can. Now that Sil was safe, and had no chance of exposing Naruto, Naruto leapt to the top of the building again, and started his 2-minute and 30-second wait. The clone was in place, and when Naruto saw the cameraman walk out, he made his move. Running across the roof he was on, Naruto landed on the north end side of the building, and leaped over the fence, and landed right next to the air vent that was just big enough for Naruto to crawl through. Looking down, to make sure no one saw him, Naruto gripped the air vent and ripped it clean off of the wall, and quickly crawled through. Now that he was inside, Naruto just needed to get to the top floor, get into the control room, and then make his way down to the floor below. Crawling through the air vents, Naruto sped up as he could see some light up ahead, and looked through the small viewing space of another air vent crate. Damn it! They really do have this place locked down. There were guards walking the hallways, and Naruto frowned knowing it'd be tough to get by them while making some fake IDs. Deciding to worry about it later, Naruto kept on crawling, hoping to follow the air vent all the way up until he was close enough to the top floor, which shouldn't be that high because of how high the air vent was. Reaching a 4-way intersection, Naruto looked straight, left, then right and frowned. He didn't have the space to make shadow clones that could go look, so Naruto decided to go right, and followed the air vent that had the most sound coming from it. It sounded like a fan was down the small shaft, and that meant a way up and more air vents to get through, which hopefully meant there was a way to the top floor. Reaching the end of the shaft, Naruto was proven correct when he looked down, and saw a giant fan that would cut him to minced meat if he fell, and more entrances to air shafts to crawl through. Placing his hand on the outside, Naruto crawled out, and let his body slide out of the shaft, with only his arm keeping him from falling. Firmly planting his feet down, Naruto made 4 clones, 1 for each air shaft, and sent them along so that way he knew which shaft to crawl through. Pulling out his new scroll, Naruto saw that he had 5 minutes until the man would reportedly come back to the room, and depending on how well his clone did, Naruto would know if this mission was a bust or not. Waiting for another minute, Naruto smirked as he looked at the air shaft all the way to the left that led to the top floor, and jumped from one side of the room, over the fan, to the other side and crawled into the vent again. This would lead directly to the E-wing corridor, and would drop Naruto right in front of the control room. But the one problem was the A.K-130 standing guard, which Naruto would have to deal with as quickly and quietly as possible, lest he alert the other guardbots that were walking around. Reaching where he needed to, Naruto stopped right in front of the vent crate, and looked out. There was one guardbot in front of the door, and 2 others that were walking the corridor that Naruto could see. Naruto sighed as he reached into his pocket, and pulled out a kunai, already having thought of a plan, a reckless plan, but a plan nonetheless. Placing his gloved hand on the vent crate, Naruto waited 15 seconds, giving the 2 walking guardbots enough time to get a little ways down the hall, and then ripped the crate inwards, then quickly peeked out, making sure his position wasn't given away. Seeing that the guardbot in front of the door hadn't moved, Naruto placed his hands on the ceiling and pulled himself out, and started to shimmy along the roof, hoping the guardbots didn't look up, because hey, no one ever looks up when something's happening. Naruto crawled along the wall, and waited until both guardbots walked across again to drop down to the floor below. Cringing as he made more sound than he meant to, Naruto placed his hand on the door that was slightly opened, then as quickly as possible, without making a sound, flung it open and grabbed the guardbot and dragged it into the room. Reinforcing his kunai with chakra, Naruto shoved it right into the guardbot's head, and smirked as the red light on the bot died down. Making another shadow clone that hinged into the A.K-130, Naruto closed the door all the way, and walked over to the access panel and started to look around. There was a whole bunch of buttons and switches Naruto didn't understand, and a fair amount of screens showing different locations of the building, and Naruto smirked as he saw the man that worked in the room leave the bathroom, only to run right back into it. Looking over the entire control board, Naruto found a switch that said 5th floor power, which would be the floor below him, since he was on the 6th floor. Flicking the switch, Naruto looked around on the screens and smirked as he saw 1 floor's power start up. Once that was done, Naruto looked for a camera switch, but frowned as he didn't see one. Looking around the room, Naruto found a small circuit box on the wall, and pried the thin metal sheeting covering it off. Seeing that the box was nothing but a whole bunch of cords plugged into the wall, Naruto took a gamble, and cut them all, hoping those were to the cameras and not something important. Looking back at the computer screens, Naruto sighed as he realized the cameras weren't on anymore. Placing a hinge on himself to look like the guy that worked here, since he saw what he looked like through the cameras, Naruto walked right out of the office after closing the door, and waited with still breath to see if the guardbots would attack. When they saw him, and didn't attack, Naruto breathed out a breath of relief, and started to walk away, and reached the staircase, that he followed to the floor below. When Naruto walked out, and started to look for the room Syl told him about. Seeing the elevator a few doors down, Naruto walked to the door across from it, and walked in with no hassle, closing the door, and sliding over a chair and sticking it under the door handle. Naruto walked over to a computer at the end that was right in front of a camera on a tripod facing the wall, and sat down on the chair. Reaching into the pocket on the inside of his cloak, Naruto grabbed a small, square device and started to look around on the box that the computer was connected to. Tuxin said just slide this into the slot that this will fit in, and it should bypass any password or login ID I need. Finding a small, rectangular slot that Tuxin told him to find, Naruto slid the, as Tuxin called it, flash drive into computer processor, and grinned as the computer came to life, bringing him to the home screen. Let's see. Nope, that's it. New identification card. Double-clicking on the little icon that said new identification, Naruto smirked as he was brought to a page, and now all he had to do was fill out the digital paperwork. Let's see. Name, Naruto Uzumaki. Age, 17. Date of birth, October 10. Social security number? The hell is that? Naruto saw a spot he didn't understand, so with a shrug he filled out the 9-numbered space, and continued. Place of birth, patch eye color, I'll put blue and just place someone in a genjutsu if I have to. Hair color, blonde. Race, faunus feature, horns. Height, 6 foot. That should do it. Shadow clone jutsu. Making a shadow clone, Naruto had it henges himself with blue eyes and in normal civilian clothes, and had it get in front of the camera by the wall. Clicking on the button that said camera, Naruto clicked it, and started to move the arrow keys like it instructed, and lined the camera up with his clone, and took the picture. Going on to his next objective, Naruto clicked print and looked over at the machine that was printing the small, rectangular form of identification for Naruto. Once the machine had wrapped the I.D in holographic-like plastic with a small black bar going down the side, Naruto inspected it, and grinned. Sealing away his I.D, Naruto deleted everything that he had just written and went on to the next thing. Henged into the look me and Tuxin talked about. The clone nodded, and henged into a blonde version of Tuxin without his facial hair, while the top of his hair was slicked back. Looking back at the computer, Naruto started to click away on everything he needed. Okay. Name, Sun Takimi. Color, amber. Age, 33. Date of birth, April 7. Social security number, 000-00-0000. Place of birth, Mistral. Race, human. Height, 6'3" and bam. Done. Nodding to the clone that was patiently waiting by, Naruto used the arrow keys to move the camera up a little bit, then took the picture, and waited for it to print. Once that one was done, Naruto was about to stand up, but stopped himself as an idea came to mind. Clicking back onto the identification icon, Naruto started to fill out information on one more person. Name, Naito Namake's. Age, 17. Date of birth, October 10. Social security number, 999-99-9999. Place of birth, patch eye color, red. Hair color, blonde. Race, faunus feature, horns. Height, 6 foot, and that should do it. Looking towards the clone one last time, Naruto grinned. Henjin to me, but with red eyes and white horns. The clone nodded, and did as asked, and let Naruto take the picture. It was a simple plan from Naruto. If someone ever asked why Naruto had the same horns as Naito, just different colors, Naruto now had something to say. Naito was Naruto's twin brother that was a wanted felon. Naruto would work on the backstory later, but it would be the best thing to go with. Sealing away both of Tuxin's and Naito's new identification cards, Naruto grabbed the flash drive from the computer and realized this entire building was about to go down because Naruto was about to go against all the rules of Fuinjutsu and start drawing explosion tags with just his blood. It took about 10 minutes, but Naruto drew a seal on every computer processor, a few on the walls, and a few in just random places. Once that was done, Naruto henged back into the guy that worked here, and started to walk away. He needed to find the man first, knock him out, get him out of the building, then blow the place sky high. Walking past the guardbots that were soon going to be nothing but scrap metal, Naruto walked to the staircase and followed it down to the first floor, where he knew the man to be as the genjutsu that was placed would have taken effect almost immediately. Walking down the hall, Naruto walked by all the bots, and into the bathroom and saw all but one stall open, and knew the man was in there. Silently creeping along, Naruto let the genjutsu drop that was on the man, and waited for him to come out of the stall. When he did, Naruto delivered a quick chop to the next, and the smaller, fatter man went down like a sack of potatoes. Now, how to get this guy out of here without getting my head blown off? Thinking for a few seconds, Naruto made a clone, and instructed it to run out the door, to get all the guards to follow him, which it did. Once Naruto felt like he was in the clear, he hoisted the fatter man onto his shoulders, and walked right out the front door, where there wasn't a single guard left, and held up a half-ram seal. Kaboom baby! The entire ground shook as the explosion rocked the air, and almost the entire top 2 floors were blown to pieces as 8 grade 1 explosions went off, disintegrating everything, and leaving no clues behind. Dropping the fatter man to the ground, Naruto took off in a run, intent on getting home so he could give Tuxin his new I.D, and get a good night's rest. For the second time today, Naruto heard police sirens because of something he had done, and grinned as it actually felt good to be a badass vigilante helping the world, while kicking ass. It was unconventional, and Naruto knew it was somewhat wrong to blow up an entire building like that, but it was for the greater good. He was going to help this world by taking out the White Fang, so a semi-blown-up train, and a building holding possibly millions of leans worth of equipment was a small price to pay. Plus, he'd hopefully be joining Beacon in 6 months, so the world of Remnant would only have to deal with his vigilantiness for another 6 months top, because hopefully by then the White Fang wouldn't be a problem. Running as fast as he could, Naruto dove from the building he was on, right into the open window of his room, and landed without making a thump. Closing the window, and taking off his mask, Naruto got undressed and threw on his normal work attire, which was the beige jacket with black accents, a white undershirt, black pants with his shinobi sandals, and his goggles, and unsealed Tuxin's I.D from his hand, and walked to the door. He was going to give Tuxin his stuff now, and possibly say goodbye as the man said he planned to leave in the morning. Walking down the stairs of his apartment, Naruto walked to the front of the building, and walked into Tuxin's book trade. Seeing that there was no one inside, Naruto walked into the back and saw Tuxin standing there, almost like he was waiting for Naruto, and Naruto held up his hand. Yo! Tuxin turned around, and Naruto raised an eyebrow at the grin on the man's face. You know kid, you're a pretty scary person. Sending him a questioning look, Tuxin turned around and pointed to a screen while turning the volume up. Naruto looked to where he was looking, and grinned himself as he saw a building on fire. Breaking news! This is Lisa Lavender reporting on the scene of what used to be the Vale government official's office where just moments ago the entire building exploded. Sources say a man wearing an orange mask was seen leaving from the building just moments before it exploded. The man is expected to be about 6 feet tall, wearing an orange mask with one eye hole, and has black bull-like horns sticking from his head. It is unclear if this was an isolated attack against the government from a single individual, or part of an earlier attack by a man wearing a different orange mask with different colored horns that tried to hijack a train and blow it up. Officials are now calling forth a search for the criminal and his accomplice so they may be brought in for questioning. Reporting live, this was Lisa Lavender. Naruto grinned to himself and turned back to Tuxin, while throwing him an ID. Shop was supposed to close within 10 minutes, meaning Tuxin had plenty of time during the night to shave, cut and dye his hair, and get ready to leave. So you actually managed to get the identification and didn't get caught. You're a good kid. Naruto took a seat at one of the chairs that was around the round table in the middle of the room, and reached into his pocket, pulling out the tobacco pipe Hiruzen had given him, and checked to see if there was tobacco still in there. Seeing that there was, Naruto flicked the plastic part of his lighter, and brought forth flame. Taking a deep inhale of smoke, Naruto blew it out and sighed. He hadn't originally wanted to smoke, but Hiruzen was right, it was helping with the loneliness. The dreams, the nightmares of seeing so many people die, and just knowing everything he had ever done back home resulted in him dying, added to the fact he wouldn't see the people he missed until they were both dead, had driven Naruto to taking up smoking to relax his mind and body. Today did not go how I wanted it to. I attacked the White Fang like I said, but I ended up running into about 40 at Legion Night 130s and had to blow part of the train off, only to fight Kuromi the Blue Blood right after. I won, but the police came so I tried to get her somewhere safe, and we ended up working together to fight off about 10 huntsmen. We managed to get away, but breaking into the government's building was a lot harder. They had guards, guard bots and cameras everywhere. It was only because some unlucky guy I ended up shoving into a trash can named Silver Million that had to take a piss, that I was able to get in. I got me and you identification, and got identification for Nato Namikaze, which is the name I gave Kuromi. Tuxin took a seat on the other side of Naruto, and placed his feet on the table. Sounds like an exciting day, truly. I got some news for you I forgot to mention earlier. Naruto sat up straight, and waited to see what the man would say. You've royally pissed off Adam Taurus, you know, one of the leaders of the White Fang, with how well you've been making a fool of his men. He was livid at the meeting I went to earlier, and wants to kill you, but he knows you're trying to join and knows how useful you can be. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that, because something caught his attention. Wait, you went to a meeting earlier? How come I didn't just go to that one instead of the one next week? Tuxin sighed as he leaned back again, forgetting Naruto didn't know of the technological advances they had, since in Tuxin's eyes, Naruto had grown up on a small island that didn't have the same technology. He wasn't actually there, he's on some mission I guess, and called in through his Scrolls hologram app and appeared. I don't truly remember what he said, but he never finished as he crushed his scroll before he could. He gets back in 5 days, and the meeting is 2 days later. Naruto laughed, glad he was pissing someone off, and took another inhale of his pipe. Do you still plan to leave tomorrow morning, Tuxin? Tuxin nodded, with a happy smile on his face as he couldn't wait to leave, use the money he was bringing and open up a new shop. Yes, I'll be leaving tomorrow at 6 on the next bullhead to Mistral. After that I'll be staying with a friend of mine who was on my team when we went to Haven Academy. He's human, and doesn't agree with the White Fang, so when I told him I was leaving them, he offered me the chance to stay with him until I get on my feet. Reaching into his pocket, and pulling out a piece of paper, Tuxin chucked it to Naruto, who caught it with a raised eyebrow. It's the deed to the shop. You're now the proud owner of Tuxin's book trade, home to every book under the sun. Though, I doubt you'll keep the name the same. Naruto shrugged as he smiled at the older man that had been so generous to him the last week. I might rename it. I haven't actually thought on it that much, though. I might call it Jiraiya's Book Emporium. Yeah, Jiraiya's Book Emporium, home to every book under the sun. Though, I might need to order a few books sometime soon since we're missing them. Tuxin nodded, already knowing they didn't have every book under the sun. Still plan to sell those books your godfather wrote? Naruto grinned towards the older man, who looked away. Naruto had asked Tuxin to read both tales of the utterly gutsy shinobi and make out tactics, and Naruto only got Totug's back, while Tuxin was swearing up and down all day that he misplaced the make out tactics copy Naruto had given him. Yeah, they'll bring in more money, I'm sure of it. When my godfather wrote Totug's, it wasn't such a peaceful time, so no one liked a book that talked about peace. Ahead of its time, I guess, but since the world is so peaceful, and since I finished the last chapter that my godfather didn't like, I'm sure it'll be a great seller. Though, I'm sure people will still buy more make out tactics. Tuxin nodded and looked over towards the clock on the wall, realizing he needed to get to sleep soon, but decided to stay and talk with Naruto for a little bit longer. You remember what I told you about the apartments? Rent's due every 15th of the month and? Naruto sighed, having gone over this conversation already since Tuxin not only owned the bookshop, but owned the apartments above it, but since Naruto now owned the bookshop, he now owned all of the apartments too. If they don't turn in their money by 12 o'clock on the 15th, I can give them a 1-week extension to turn in the money, but if they don't turn it in, I have to give them a 30-day notice. I got it, old man, we've been over this conversation like 10 times. Tuxin sent Naruto a glare, who shrunk in his seat, but then relented. I just wanted to make sure you know, as a landlord you got to be strict and take no crap. Naruto nodded and finished off the rest of the tobacco in the pipe and stood up, as did Tuxin. I think I'm going to call it a night. I'm pretty tired and today wore me out. Tuxin stuck out his hand, and Naruto grasped it in a firm shake, smiling up at the older male. Everything you need to know is written down on some papers. I gave you an advancement of 25,000 lien already, but besides that, half of the money I owned is in the safe. I have the other half, and the codes written down. The meeting time, detailed descriptions of everyone I know, and the number of my newest scroll is written down. Don't call me unless it's important, kid. Look after the shop, keep her running, and have a good life. Naruto saluted the older male with a grin on his face. Thanks, Tuxin, for everything you've done for me in the past week. I won't forget it, and if you ever need anything, call me and I'll help you out, don't be afraid to ask. Tuxin patted Naruto on the shoulder and started to walk away, but right before he walked out of the back area, he stopped and gave a firm nod to Naruto, who recuperated it, and watched as the older male left. Walking out to look over his store, Naruto grinned. Today had been good, he got what he needed, helped Tuxin out, became a store owner, and now had to worry about his meeting with the White Fang. Tomorrow was going to be a training day, and Naruto silently vowed on his Nindo, he was going to learn this damn Kamui with the help of the scrolls Obito had given him. Naruto wanted to at least know the short-range Kamui by then, to help him out. If he could learn to become intangible, it'd be better, but he wasn't going to be picky. Making a shadow clone, Naruto had it start reading the notebook full of information Tuxin had left him, and with the order the lockdown shop after it was done, while Naruto got some rest before he had clones open up shop tomorrow under a henge so he could train all day. He would learn this damned Kamui, and he would make the world a better place. He couldn't just turn his back on the world like that, because if he did, he wasn't Naruto Uzumaki. What if Naruto has Sharingan and Ruby? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.